This is the X&C Podcast, your Xbox newscast, featuring Colteastwood and Gaz, hosting industry interviews and gaming talk live on YouTube every Monday night at 5 p.m. on the West Coast, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. For all of you listening around the world, X&C Podcast is available on demand on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. Welcome to the show. Join the chat, hit the like button, and let's get into this week's topics with the Xbox newscast.
Well.
Oh, there we go. What's going on? This is Colteastwood, and hopefully we have mics ready to rock. We're still looking at Gaz. He's super excited. This is episode 74 of the X&C Podcast. I am the host, Colteastwood, and it's been a long time coming, Gaz, but we have the man, David Jaffe, a guy who's been in the industry for 20 plus years. He is yes!
David Jaffe in the house!
It's good being me. It's good being me. It's good being me. But I appreciate the intro. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's I tweeted at you and said, "Come on the show, coward," because you were making fun of me for being afraid to have the great David Jaffe on the show and your crazy antics. But
I was talking to Gaz and you were in the chat, kind of with your nose pressed up against the glass, not allowed in our elite conversation, and. Yeah, I guess you were like, "Please, sir, may I talk to Jaffe?" And it was just sort of like, I was like, "Oh, I've heard a lot. I've heard of you for ages, and I think it's more of a you travel more in the Xbox ecosystem. Is that correct?"
Mm-hmm. Where the filthy swine are, of course. Yeah, sure.
I love my Xbox. But yeah, you had always been on the periphery, and then I'm like, "Oh, this is that guy with the cool last name, Eastwood. I love this guy." So yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Bro, it's an honor. I'm excited to have you here. And Gaz is
really, Assassin? Somebody in the chat says Jaffe looks like he needs a hug. I'm tired.
Come on,
I just popped a Ritalin, though. I really did. I totally did, because I forgot to take my noon Ritalin. I'll be up all night, but I get Marvel Snap to keep me company. I'll be fine. So anyway, yes.
This dude gives up sleep to play video games. That's
everybody. Doesn't everybody?
Yep.
Doesn't everybody? Come on now. Tonight on ABC, Gaz and Colteastwood join David Jaffe as they try to figure out, how do we raise these kids? The new season premiere of How Do We Raise These Kids, starring Colt, Gaz, and Jaffe, with special guests
the Taliban.
The Taliban have come around. Yeah, there you go.
It's a show about three dads who don't even pay attention to their kids because they're too busy playing video games and for me, constantly worrying on Twitter for fun. But yeah, Gaz, how you been, buddy? You haven't said anything yet because we've been hogging the mic.
I'm sure. Look, I'm here with Dave Jaffe. I'm here with you. I'm intrigued, chat. This is supposed to be a family show, but this is David Jaffe here. I'm here for the chaos. I want some chaos, but it's going to be a great show. And as I watch Colt Eastwood uncomfortably squirm as the moms and dads angrily DM him after the show, it's like, how dare you? And then I don't care, because David Jaffe's here, and we get to speak truths. We always do. We always do.
And one of the truths is, before we went live, Colt's like, "Hey, this is a family show where people watch it in the background with their family." And he says, "Hey, you are you, but do what you can to restrain yourself a little bit." And I respect that. I understand that. And then I'm going, but you just brought up the Taliban. So if you're raising children, what would you rather your children go? "Mommy, what's the F word that man with the crazy beard just said?" Or, "Mommy, what's the Taliban?" I think I'd rather take the F word than the Taliban, but such is life in Western society. Anyway,
and such is life with Gaz. Gaz always has something he's going to say that I'm like, "Gaz, come on." Before we get rolling, shout out to 500 people here to check us out. We've got a lot to talk about. News has been weird lately, but we do have some really good stuff to talk about. Let me give a quick shout out to some of the channel members and veterans that have been supporting the show. They're also across the bottom screen. I'll do this really quickly because I haven't memorized. We got Brian Harris, Mark Carwell, KY Bob, Assassin Lupa, Jazzy Noop, Xbox, Ricky Fallon, Stephen Smith, Maurice Baker, Zimic, Ralph Wiggum, Manic Master, Matt Burns, William Lanza, Nano Polymyth, Udana Kizada, Robert Jackson. I need to get like the Micro Machines guy to do this really fast. Lord Starkiller, Dante Moody, Betamax, Dark CMF, Gas, Fox Story Killing, Reek Bag, Fault Line, Zitter White, Divaro, Kadu Gaming, Blue Poochie, Remix Gaming, Zephyr Kimpo, Assassin, Raymond G, Dub, Thapter, Larry Chatterwood, Hargy, Johnny, TK, Chillin, Raiden, Blade, Cute Perspective, True Drive, Sam, Rick, and there we go. Now, I'm just kidding. Risk for the Biscuit with Donnie Santasso, Gray Loudon, and CJ93. These people support the channel every month. Thank you so much. You're on the bottom, but we're here to talk about the gaming news. Jaffe, what have you been playing lately? You said you were playing this Marvel Snap.
Well, okay, so I have been playing any and everything. I've been playing a lot. So before I get to Marvel Snap, I was kind of, it's all blending together. There's so much to play. Let me close my eyes and think for a second. I have been playing a lot. Well, I'm back to Elden Ring. I'm playing, I don't even know anymore. I've just finished Resident Evil 3 Remake because people had turned me off on it for so long. But I finally said, nah, I'm going to try it. I'm excited about the new Resident Evil stuff coming. It's a great game. It's
How far
really
into it are
great.
you?
I finished it. It's absolutely
It's so
fantastic.
good.
Yeah, and people, I didn't grow up. Well, I was already an adult, but I didn't come up playing RE Nemesis on the PS1. So I understand that if you have that frame of reference, you're going to go, hey, they cut this, and this isn't how Nemesis works, and blah blah blah. I respect that, but yeah, but since I didn't have that, I just experienced it as a really tight, fun Resident Evil game. So I finished that,
And
then
kind
I was
of action adventure too. Like it was.
Yeah.
I loved it. But anyway, go ahead.
I did too. Visually, it looked just delightful. It's so beautiful. And so I was so stupid. I didn't know it at the time, but I pre-ordered the Call of Duty digital version because I wanted to get and play the campaign early. And I wanted to, Gaz, I think you just finished it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And you said it was pretty good, right?
Yeah, I saw that all the people have a fallout over the IGN review, and typically my reviews are better than theirs. So
all the reviews are pretty negative. I've seen. I saw Kotaku, IGN, and GameSpot just kind of hammered it, but it looks good. But I haven't been able to play it because Marvel Snap was released. But first, let's go back to the campaign, if you don't mind. You liked it?
It's on the topic list, Jaffe. So go
okay.
for it. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I haven't played it. Like I said, I was very excited. I paid the extra for the download 1 week early, and every night I finish my stream and I say, hey, it's time to play Call of Duty. I want to stream it, blah, blah, blah. And Marvel Snap just keeps a calling to my heart and my soul and my nether regions. And I don't know how to say no to Ben Brode. So I just can't stop playing that beautiful gem of a game. That is in the running game of the year for me. Absolutely. It's brilliant.
wow.
Awesome.
Okay, that's interesting.
Tell us what you think, guys. Reviews go up tomorrow, I think, and IGN gave it a 6 out of 10. Like Jaffe said, the other sites haven't been so nice. What's your take? What's your mini review?
Well, as far as the campaign is concerned, I will say it sticks to old Call of Duty tropes quite rigidly, to the point where it's almost a checklist of here's the AC-130 mission that you liked, here's that sniper mission that you liked again, regurgitate it again. And you remember, I was in party chat with you, and you want to shut the up every time the cutscene was playing, but really, it is a lot of the military jargon and then conspiracies and all that. The story is, whereas 2019 kind of re-injected some, like, it was held in high and esteemed. It was my modern. This one didn't have any ambitious goals in it. But the thing that kind of put me off, but then it was quite weird, is there's a bit schizophrenia. There's a bit schizophrenia there. The first half of it, and I won't, not for the fear of spoilers, there's a turning point in the game. But for the first half of it, it's like they're going through this checklist exercise, and I'm thinking, well, you know, what are you doing that's remarkably different? Like, and then when the game forces you to play up close and personal with enemy combat, because you've got an incredibly visually stellar title. I mean, you've seen the Amsterdam level doing the rounds on Twitter, and yeah, it was great. There are some problems there with, you know, really stodgy looking NPC movements, and that kind of takes away from it. AI was touted in their vidoc about how good it was. Nope, that's a complete, it's literally lemmings again. I have videos of just how poor the AI is. I'm like, where was all this work that you said you did in the AI? But there were some bits that really hit hard. Like the second half of the game, I think, is much stronger in that when it's up close and personal, it's great. Then there's right at the end, there's a segment I thought, this is what you just turned this into Home Alone. And I won't say too much, but it's just like, what is this? Like, isn't that Bond movie where everyone's so overrated? That was a Spectre or something where Bond goes back and then to his old home and starts putting traps everywhere. And I'm like, oh, come on, this is not that good. Why is it so overhyped? So Call of Duty falls into that. But it depends on what your expectations are. If you are going for a switch your brain off, beautiful spectacle of a game, gunplay and all of that, the stuff you like, your sniper missions, you're not asking too much for it, that's what you'll get. But I do think Call of Duty needs to grow up, and I do think it needs to grow up.
I mean, because 2019.
What does that mean? Grow up? What do you mean?
Because what it does is there's old gen tropes, tons of enemies at you, press the button here, and what I find weird is that they've hit the realism with the sounds, with the visuals. The guns feel weighty. If the combat and the AI could reflect that kind of weight, like instead of bullet sponging, you know, it just needs to be smarter. It needs to be grown up, because what Call of Duty is like a Fast and Furious movie. There's one segment that is so ridiculous.
But isn't that what people love about it? I mean, I don't want to play. Look, I don't think 6 Days in Fallujah is going to come close to pulling off their master plan. I think they don't have a fucking what they're doing. But what I will tell you is, I would love a grown-up war story video game, not just in terms of the mechanics, but in terms of the narrative and how the narrative gets told. And I had hoped I think it was the 2019 winner, I forget which one it was, where the two Naughty Dog guys came over and directed the campaign. And that it was good. I really enjoyed it, but it didn't make me feel like, oh, we've got Platoon here. But when it comes to Call of Duty, I would hate for Call of Duty to become anything other than Fast and the Furious. I think that's what makes it so delightfully dumb and fun.
But it becomes too Fast and Furious. There's some bits where it gets the balance right.
There ain't no such thing as too Fast and Furious.
You're hopping over cars, like, I mean,
I'm in America, I'm in America. Ain't too much. Nothing's no. Fast and Furious can never be too much.
There is the missions where you go into the house and you have to like watch your corners and clear, and that stuff's really cool. And I've only played 25% of the campaign, and I got like those missions where it wasn't like a shooting gallery, which I thought, oh, this is pretty good in the first couple of missions. I gotta ask Jaffe, because I gotta ask him this, guys. When I did the second mission, like Captain Price goes, guys, I need you to go out there on the dock. I need you to go over, take out the people in the boat, go over and take the people over there on the dock and take them, meet me over by the generator, pull the switch, and they need you to go under and centrifuge, blah, 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 blah. Yep. And the whole time I'm going, okay, that's a lot of. He's giving. And this is what I'm doing as a soldier. He's giving me a lot of instructions. Okay. And he's like, all right, you meet me at the rendezvous point. And I'm like, wait, Price, wait.
Yeah, I usually pay a lot of money for a cam girl to talk to me that way. I love what you just did. But I mean, are you saying that it was so much information that then they let you loose and you didn't know what to do?
Yeah, and I got to ask you, like, if you were a soldier in the Marines or whatever, and they gave you this long list of instructions for your mission, would you be like, oh man, that's a lot of stuff to remember. This guy's really boring. I don't know if I remember this. You know, what am I supposed to do again? And then he takes off, and you're like,
No, you lost me at if I was a soldier in the Marines. Let me just tell you briefly. I drove my kids to My Chemical Romance in LA a couple days ago, and they were in LA, not in San Diego. And we ended up taking a gaggle of kids, and we sold the minivan because I didn't need it anymore. So I ended up borrowing a friend's car, or one of their friends' car, to drive them, with it had a lot more seats. And the dad, I'd never met the dad. He comes out, big, buff, 6'2". And then I'm driving the car, and there's like a Marine sticker on the back. And I'm just like, he's like, what do you do for a living? And I'm like, oh, I'm in technology. Because in my head, I'm going, I dress up as a wizard, and I yell at the camera, and I yell at people on Twitter. And he's like, I protected the country, but I'll never be a Marine. But the point is that's a lot of data. And I think I would just run around and start shooting things. And I'm a pretty lucky guy. I probably get lucky. Hit the target, save the world. That's how we do it. That's how we do it.
That's the
oh
way
my
to do it.
gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, the game is beautiful, but the first half's really promising. But I was in party chat, David, with Gaz, and he was having a good time, and then he started to kind of, And he's like, oh, this is cool.
There were some bits that annoyed me. It's completely inconsistent, and there's some spectacles that are amazing. The strengths are when the game makes the game up close, the gameplay and gunplay up close and personal. That's where it shines. That's incidentally, what they show off in their promotional trailers. In that one level, actually, incidentally, the strongest level in that game is the whole level that they showed off. You know, the sea level chat in the frigate. Really up close and personal, and I really enjoy that. And after that, there are a couple of levels that go really well. That's where it shines. But when it gets a little bit silly, and then you're like, the game gets a bit, some segments overstay their welcome massively, and the ending was so ridiculous. The last final encounter, I thought, you're taking the mick. How is this enjoyable? Like, I want to sit down with the devs and say, look, you're making me flip up it's not a spoiler, but like a tablet. This is not how to end a Call of Duty game. Like, how was this interesting? I really would say that. Like, what part of you thinks that ending a game like this would actually be fun and leave a lasting impression on the player? Because I don't think it's going to be effective.
Can I ask you two questions about it?
Sure.
Well, did you get to a point, because it sounds like you were okay with it, like on a scale of 1 to 10, I guess my guess would be you rated it like a 6.5 or 6.
That's a very good, 6.5.
So was there a point where you were just like, I don't want to play this anymore, and you just pushed yourself, or was it enjoyable all the way through? You just didn't love it?
No, so in fact, the 6 may sound odd, but there's some bits I really enjoyed. Some bits that were really like lackluster, and I was bemused at why they were even in there. And that balances it up to a 6.5 to 7 to me, because the spectacles were great. But I can feel like, I want to qualify this now, I'm live, but I feel like there is a sweet spot for Call of Duty that it can attain with better AI, really ramp up that up close and personal gunplay, which people like. It's like the multiplayer aspect, but more up close and personal that hits those vibes of the visual auditory feedback. And Call of Duty will get there. Because,
that was my other question is, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, go. No.
I was going to say that the other question was, did you play the beta multiplayer yet?
Yeah, I did. I played that a lot.
What did you think of that?
I really enjoyed that. I did
too. Okay. Because I wanted to know if you felt that this was another Call of Duty Vanguard that was going to be another year where it was kind of on a downtrend, or do you feel that
Vanguard.
It's...
Yeah, this is really good. I really love 2019. I played that multiplayer a lot, and this one I'm really just excited for the multiplayer, because the beta, some bits I didn't like, the recoil, the mad, on screen, the blurring and stuff. But generally, I really can't wait to play.
I loved it too. I thought the beta was great. It was absolutely.
I got to ask David about, because David, you were asking about like the growing up thing for Call of Duty. Do you remember 2019's Call of Duty Modern Warfare? Do you remember playing it?
I played it. I finished it. I'm trying to remember. There were two, and they might be the same. There was one where it switched to where you were playing one of the kids in like Afghanistan, and his dad was dead.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I was getting at. It had those mature, like really insightful, like people were gassed and there's bodies laying on the ground, and it was some more hard hitting than most. It wasn't like a Fast and the Furious Call of Duty so much. I think that's where Gaz is getting at.
Okay, but let's be clear. I was about to fall asleep because you don't get gold stars for me for trying, right? You get gold stars for me for executing, because ultimately it's a product and you spend a lot of money. Well, sorry, that's a different podcast. But in Call of Duty, when they've tried to do that, like I said, I was very excited they brought the Naughty Dog guys on. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. They're going to take that kind of pedigree and mentality and apply it to this big blockbuster action game. This is going to be awesome, And I just didn't feel any of it worked that well. I understood what they were going for, but it just kind of felt, if you're going to make somebody feel something in a video game that is surrounded by all kinds of chaos and explosions and actions, however they were trying it, for me personally didn't work. So when you talk about Call of Duty, where it works, they are brilliant at making it work as a Fast and Furious. There was a scene, I think that was the one where you're like in this scene and you're running through some interior building and there's like bulletproof glass and the bad guys are on the other side killing all of your buddies or something, and you can't get to them and you can't shoot the glass. So you're having to deal with your mission on the right side, and on the left side, on the other side of the glass, you're watching all your people die. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That was powerful. But the thing like crawling around and seeing the dead bodies, maybe it's because you're in a game where you put dead bodies everywhere. You can't go you can't go 20 feet without creating at least 5 dead bodies. So suddenly I'm supposed to feel all emotional because I'm crawling on the ground and my God, a dead body.
I thought they did a good job with when you play as the kid and everyone's being gassed. I felt really terrible, and I was in the moment, and I feel like most of the time I like Fast and the Furious style Call of Duty too. I mean, Infinite Warfare is one of my favorite. I like the bang, 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 on rail stuff, and then the sniper and some of the things that Gaz made me complain about, but then again, I played Vanguard, and it was like shooty kablooty on a train, and I'm like, come on. I feel like I'm just hitting the trigger the whole time, over and over.
I didn't even play it. I heard it was just not even worth my time, so.
It wasn't.
There's too much to play. There's too much to play, so.
And with Call of Duty, the pedigree that it has and the polish that you expect, some bits are really missing that polish. Like the Amsterdam level, the AI and the pedestrians that look really plain. I made a video on like just how they're just standing there, punch someone, and they're just like not reacting. And there are other quality of life upgrades. I expect this far in a gen where if I shoot someone their leg and I want to see someone limping, their legs bleeding or incapacitated, shoot the gun out of their hand and they're screaming. You can still make it Fast and Furious, but if you want to try and hit some of that realism, like serious notes, because the game starts off with a little disclaimer. Oh, by the way, warning, it has some crazy scenes. And going back, what was so mad about it? I'm trying to think back. I've completed the game.
Oh, well, I didn't read. I glanced at the Kotaku article, and apparently there are times where they're like, you're shooting people and they're not really the bad guys, and that you feel bad about it. And I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't play that yet, so I don't know.
Well, I'm a terrible person because I don't even remember shooting or feeling remotely bad for anything. And No Russian made me pause a little bit.
That reminds me of the IGN or GameSpot. I think it might have been IGN a few years ago when they previewed Call of Duty at E3, and they're like, that was just too much. Do you remember that whole debacle?
The No Russian thing? Oh, those are so
it wasn't No Russian. It was later. It was like a few years ago. And everyone was like, shut up, crybabies.
I was just like, I like the video games medium compared to their movie counterparts. They're so far behind on this whole maturity thing. Like, if we want to be taken seriously, we need to go, the interactivity. What you arguing about, Jaffe? What's wrong with that?
Well, because it's a deeper conversation. It's a very important conversation when it comes to the medium, and it's an important conversation when it comes to how do we actually push the medium forward as developers. And I think one of the problems is, and it's not a problem, the customer's never wrong, but the idea that, like you were just saying, what I want in Call of Duty is the guy to limp and it goes out of his hand and all this nuance and detail. Well, that's where your budgets are going, because that's what's on the screen and that's what people can understand is a valuable upgrade. The game itself is probably, it sounds like the same game as it ever was going back for a long, long time. That's the stuff that cost a lot of money to bring in specialists and write new animation systems. And how do we tween these animations so it doesn't just pop to that really cool canned animation, all that stuff. But right. Well, that kind of detail. But see, that's the mistake I think they make. There are some wonderful indie games out there that are incredibly abstract that actually do, via interactivity, I think go toe-to-toe with some Hollywood and Oscar bait movies at the end of the year. I think the problem is that when we say video games are so far behind, we're talking about it because we're looking at a one-to-one comparison based on production value and based on sort of realism versus based on what the video game does better than any other medium, which is when you play it and you feel something that you can really only experience through the metaphorical experience of playing an emotion, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm just saying you got to be careful a lot of times when you're talking about the medium at large and people are going, it's behind movies. And it's like, not if you're talking about visual quality, that's not where it's ever going to touch movies. They'll never
Did you mean the maturity level of what violence is portrayed in movies versus video games, Gaz?
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, not necessarily. I am generally talking about exactly what Jaffe is espousing there. And I think there is a utility in that. Yes, yeah, it's quite abstract. Indies will hit certain notes quite well. But I think with Call of Duty being where it inhibits this position here, I think it would resonate positively. And I think we should hold Call of Duty to a higher esteem. This is a game that's been contested rigorously. Is the primary reason why regulators right now are considering why this is anti-compete or whatever, because Call of Duty is such a force. But I think with that comes some responsibility to push the barriers a little bit, not just beyond visuals. I think you could do all of that and have an incredible game. Well, obviously the reviews are being a bit scathing right now, although I'm not saying we should judge it by those reviews, but I think if you can take it when you play the campaign. I would love to hear your thoughts on what you thought were its shortcomings, and perhaps maybe some utility in what I'm saying about bringing that maturity a little bit, ramp it up to almost, in my opinion, justify the starting warning screen, because to me you didn't.
I wish Jim Ryan would go to Naughty Dog and say, you know what? You guys are geniuses. You're great. You're excellent. Blah blah blah. But do me a favor.
Yeah.
Make us a campaign for our version of Call of Duty, because they're the right team to do it. Where it's like, make it action packed, make it, almost like merge Uncharted with The Last of Us, where it's like it's got the big blockbuster mentality, but then there's like a 20% through line that is very heartfelt, emotional, evocative at a intellectual level. Call of Duty may just not have the people to do that kind of game, but I think Naughty Dog, if they ever wanted to, who they have on staff, I think that would what an amazing evolution of the blockbuster. I think
the
for video
games
genre.
That's a great point to put it. That Naughty Dog's Uncharted melded with the seriousness of The Last of Us in a first-person shooter. I have utmost confidence in Naughty Dog smashing that out of the park. Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, that's a great point. I would love to have see them do that, and hopefully they will. But there's now catching up with the first-person arena. Who knows? Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, Naughty Dog. I didn't know they worked on a Call of Duty game. I didn't know they helped.
Well, they didn't. Two guys left Naughty Dog and went over to Activision to work on Modern
works on Call of Duty. Hey, let me read a couple supers, because some of them are pointed at Mr. Jaffe here, and we'll get some voices out here before we move to the next thing here. Carlos Fontes says, "Thank you for all the memories, Mr. Jaffe." Awesome.
Which you mean with your? Oh, it's a family show. You're welcome. You're welcome. You, on behalf of all of us who made those games, thank you for playing our games, and you were very welcome. Thanks, man.
That's awesome. Thank you.
That was a fake reply.
Matthew Barrios with the $5
It was genuine, but it wasn't what I wanted to say. But it was a genuine reply.
And Carlos can fill in the blanks, I suppose. Yeah. Matthew Burrows says, "I'm relatively new to the channel because of Randall Thor." Oh boy. But he says, "I just want to show some support for what you all do. I really enjoy being here. Thanks for checking out the show. We got about 800 people here who are listening to Gaz and David Jaffe and I talk about Call of Duty and Fast and the Furious. Let's put Vin Diesel in the next Call of Duty game." Next one from Mandingo. Thank you for the Canadian super. He says, "Does the UK having a new PM change anything with the CMA and the ABK deal? And Jaffe, you're the man." Well, Jaffe, we're going to talk about the CMA a little bit later, because I'm sure you've talked it to death. But let me get a couple more here. Lucius Augustus, thank you, says, "Stop trying to turn Call of Duty into Spec Ops: The Line, Gas. Spec Ops: The Line's fantastic. Have you played that one, Jaffe?"
It is. You have to try that.
I know. Everybody says it's great. Everybody says it's great. I haven't played it.
And it's quite relevant in this conversation about the maturity and the kind of lines that it hits there. That's why it's held in high esteem. I'm not saying make Call of Duty like that, but I think there is elements of that. You pull that in there, and then you'll do favors. I think
I don't want to derail, but I do want to bring this up, because I'm a lot older. I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm definitely older. And what was really fascinating to watch in movies, and so games kind of took the wrong lesson, right? So by the time games were making their blockbusters, we were already seeing film like Transformers and things like that dumb down the blockbuster because they traveled all over the world and they had to make stories simpler for language and all kinds of things. But when I was coming up with things like Jaws, Close Encounters, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Empire, Terminator 2, these were the blockbusters that we had as children in my youth. And what was really interesting about those blockbusters, which I think is what we're kind of talking about with a Call of Duty, which they should be, is games skipped over for the most part that period where 80% of it was popcorn and fun and entertainment, but it had a thread about 20% of humanity, or it was saying something, or it got you in the feels and all that stuff, right? Games never really had that. Movies eventually became what games are now, which is just kind of the lowest common denominator. But yeah, I would love to see, it's almost like in games right now, it's either you're really big and mass market and stupid, or you're really angsty and arty and you want to say something. And we don't have that middle line, which I think is missing. So.
That's great. That's absolutely why I like indies more than AAAs. But they're more evocative in making you think. Plus, you've got I mean, a bit not biased. I'm not an indie developer, but I like the human story. You could tell the passion of a singular dev or a tiny outfit. They will hone in on that messaging. So you've got these games, and there's no middle ground because you have AAA, crazy, dumb, Fast and Furious, Rambo thing, and then you've got indies who really going all out flair. We do need that middle line, and hopefully that, I don't know when that will change. But yeah,
I think part of that has to do with the way games looked at first, because like Jaffe said, they were all popcorn before, when it was just push the start button and shoot until you get to the end. And then narrative and cinematic started coming in like the 360 PS3 generation, and things really started to hit their stride. And then, you know, I don't know, we're going to talk about the AAA game machine a little bit when I put up some gameplay, but that does make up an interesting point. Mikey Wrestling, thank you so much, Super. Says, much love to Jaffe for making my favorite games, Twisted Metal, God of War, and Calling All Cars.
You dang. See what I did? I'm good. You dang right. We all a lot of us made them, but on behalf of them, thanks, man. And I love that you shout out Calling All Cars. I loved that game. I loved working on that game. We made one stupid mistake, which was I listened to the Mormons, and in listening to the Mormons, we ended up making a commercial dud.
Oh. A commercial dud.
Because it was originally an R-rated game. It was inspired by underground comics like R. Crumb, and there was nudity and beer, and it was as edgy as you could get for a video game back then. And people who had just bought a PlayStation are not going to buy a little kid cartoony game. But there But there are wonderful, brilliant programmers out in Utah that I was working with, but they also happen to be really religious. And I didn't know enough at the time to push back, and I'm like, okay, I want to keep the team happy. They're offended by this. Sure, let's tone it down. And we ended up making a launch game for a $500 $99 system that who goes out and spends $600 on a machine and wants to play a game that looks like a little Disney stupid cartoon? I'll tell you, not many people.
What was the rating on it when it launched?
I mean, it had to have been an E. I don't even know if there were
everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you say if you had gone back, you'd have pushed back on it in hindsight.
Yeah, well, I would have pushed back. I would have been a little bit more diplomatic. I would have said, okay, we can get rid of the R. Crumb stuff, we can get rid of the cartoony stuff, but we need to hit the sweet spot of who our market is. And if you're buying a $600 machine, let's go violent sci-fi. I mean, keep the game exactly what it is, but let's do something that resonates with this audience. But who's buying this in a launch window amongst hardcore gamers? Very, very few people. So,
yeah.
And perfect timing. The adult dating site chat shows up while we're talking about that. They're like, hey, we like that stuff too. Drawn TJ says, hey guys, great guests. Hi, Jaffe. So say hi to Drawn TJ.
Hello, John TJ. Hey, Gaz, tell me how my British accent is. You ready?
Oh, no.
Oh, John TJ, I like to come over here and look up my bum with a torch, yeah, and see if you can find any kind of little action figures that I lost up there the other day. I was playing with the Micronauts, and I'm like, let's go up the bum. How is that?
Torch.
That was great, Jeff. You bloody smashed it. You bloody smashed it. Navigate through that anus with expert precision. Brilliant.
Let's talk about I really want to move on to one of these, but we got to talk about this. I want Gaz to lead this Bayonetta actress. She made the headlines last week, and it just gets worse and worse. Gaz, reset the audience for us with Bayonetta's voice actress.
Okay, so last week, Jaffe, when we were here on last Saturday, me and you were actually, mature gentlemen, insightful, a little bit. We've been through a life a little bit, and we said on that show, look, fair enough, she might have some things in there, but the way she's behaved, there may be, there's two sides to this story.
That's right. Yep.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we said. So I then, emboldened by Jaffe's wisdom and also agreeing with you on the Saturday, came in last Monday and I repeated the same thing. I said, hold on a minute. It's $250 an hour, perhaps more. And, she, in calling to boycott a whole game and the hundreds of people working on the team, isn't it unfair to do that? Is that disproportionate? I got reamed in the chat.
They're idiots. I mean, here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact of the matter is, it's this younger generation, Gaz. It's the younger generation. But what we're talking about, it's like you can be noble. You can want people to get a fair shake. You can be absolutely pro-union. You can be pro-worker. You can be a good person. Yeah. But if you don't take into account the realities of the world in which they're working, then you're a moron. Okay, and that doesn't mean you have to support and like the realities. Work to change them. Work to make the world a less obnoxious capitalist crap hole. But until that happens, you have to sort of deal with the scenario as it's played. And as it's played, she didn't have a pot to piss in.
Exactly. She hadn't worked for 8 years. This is what I was saying to chat. Guys, you're so anti-worker. And when I said to them in the chat, I don't know who that person was, tell me why is that disproportionate that to us? There are 100 other people who worked on this game. How would you feel? And you got a bad deal. I would never do that. I would put myself in that position, being in a professional realm, believe it or not. I just wouldn't do that or have some basic thing. Is people, you are right. And it sounds like we're really old, but it's just like, people live in the real world. Like you'll jump in on a bandwagon of boycott Bayonetta. How do you look now? How do you look now after what happened? The next day it broke. And today she comes out, 10,000 became 15,000. So 4,000 became 10,000, became $15,000, and she didn't want to take it. Fine, you might argue that's a low thing. She has this weird notion of this calculation, how much Bayonetta actually netted, which I don't think it is the 45 million, whatever crazy target she's suggesting. All I'm saying is, exactly what Jaffe is saying. Like, you get a bad deal. That's, if you want to rally against the industry, then do something more than just jump on a bandwagon and just straight up Bayonetta and no even tolerate discourse. And Jaffe, you know this. Me and you have been talked about how you get reamed for even entertaining the notion of just a dissenting opinion of what actually exploring the other side, even if it's Kamiya, even if he's a bit of a dick on social media or whatever.
Insect.
Yeah, it's
and then, by the way, I also heard, and I'm sure you guys did too, that woman who was not the one they eventually hired, but the first woman, apparently she has a lot of mental issues, and she suffers from depression and stuff, which is no joke, which is really a big bear that I hope no one ever has to deal with. But even with that, I wish gamers would I would just leave her be, because it's kind of like gamers can be some annoying, doxing, in your face, never stopping people. And it's like, okay, that's cool if you're coming at me, or that's cool if you're going at Colin or you guys or whatever. That's what it's, you stand up on the stage, you're going to get some tomatoes thrown at you. But, she's dealing with some mental health issues. She made a video. She probably was emotional, put her foot in her mouth a few times, and now she's trying. I don't feel right going after her. I don't think what you're saying and what I'm saying means we're going after her. I'm saying that some of the people who have been vicious towards her, it's like, you should be so lucky never to have to deal with mental illness in your family. It's a dragon. and you can't always slay it.
It's
So
real.
Absolutely. I think the more my criticism is everyone else around it,
Yes.
and the media around it, and how everyone did, because they enabled that. Yeah, fair enough. She put her foot in her mouth or whatever, and that wasn't the best way to advocate. But if she has mental health issues and she may not know better, like, it's hard. When you're stuck in that world, I can't imagine what it is like. But what about everyone else? What's their excuse?
Oh no, they don't have an excuse. They're just morons. They're just totally stupid morons.
Can I not slightly, let me take a bit of her side where, Paris was on our show last week and he said, pay the talent what they're worth. Like she's helped make this franchise successful. She's the voice.
She is they are being paid what they're worth. They're worth what, and not to sound like a Fox News guy, because I'm progressive and liberal all day long, but they're worth what the market can bear.
Yeah.
The market doesn't care if she's Bayonetta. Bayonetta is at best a cold hit. I can't wait for it. I'm looking forward to it. The Game Informer write-up made it sound awesome. I'm there Friday. But the idea that people are that she's a big linchpin or she's a big part of why that game is a cult. Come on, don't be a moron.
People didn't even know it was her. Like
nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I mean, let's be real. I'm sorry, but
my reaction was like, how many voice lines does she have? I played quite a bit of the first one, and then I haven't really. I'm like Jaffe, I haven't been into this series, but like, how much of that voice has to be that person, right? Like, if you're going to ask me for Commander Shepard's voice, you get Jennifer Hale, and she's the one that they use to replace. Nobody even remembers her name, but I'm sure she's great. I'm sure she's super talented, and she weaponized the original offer or the first segment of the work. They're paid in bits and sections, right? And it kind of all comes out as like, oh, I kind of knee-jerked on this whole thing, but such is the problem with AAA games, I suppose. And right now, if you're watching the stream, welcome, almost 900 people are here, but I've got Gotham Knights on the screen. And just for a moment, let me just say, I really, really, really like this game, and I'm hoping when you see the footage, you'll see why I'm liking it. But Gaz just recently finished Spider-Man 2018, and
overrated game. I'm sorry, it's overrated.
Oh my gosh,
Miles Morales is better than but it's built on the shoulders of this great game, Spider-Man. So I mean,
I think it's overrated in the sense that the traversal, the story, like the animations, the visuals, fine. It makes you feel like Spider-Man, but some of the combat is just like the boss battles from the first one, from Kingpin to Dr. Ock at the end. You're doing the same thing. Spam attacks, press L1, R1, throw debris, hold triangle to zone in, attack. Do it again, and the same animation, same thing, slow motion, kick, boom, same kick, boom. I'm like, come on, switch it up. This is the last boss. At least switch it up here. And that's the kind of laziness of that and repeat of those tropes, the same combat. And I thought, well, why is this held in high esteem? It's because it's the best Spider-Man game, perhaps. But unlike Ghost of Tsushima, even though that's another Ubisoft template game, the world in itself, the music, the characters did enough for me to be engrossed in it that I would forgive the terrible side missions because I felt like a samurai. I like the combat, even the subtle mechanical way of face-off, stand off with people, hold triangle, like the precision of that. I felt to the point where I would swipe the touchpad here and wipe my blade clean at the end of the battle because I felt so engrossed. I felt like a samurai. So yeah, if people, I shared that, and so a lot of people did.
I yelled at characters I killed sometimes because I felt bad. Yes. I love that game. I love that game.
Yeah.
But the Spider-Man thing is a little. It's not the customer's job to care about this stuff. But I will say on Spider-Man, when it came out, for a first crack at that kind of game by this team, that shouldn't forgive anything that you like or don't like. But I think it was an highly entertaining and beautifully made, beautifully executed, but kind of cookie cutter design, but that had some moments that were super Marvel and super Spider-Man. But I think that all got, for me personally, fixed with Miles Morales. Miles Morales is my Christmas game. I love playing it. I played it Christmas. I think I'm going to play it again. So it'll be my second year in a row I've played it. It's fun. It's warm. The characters are great. The world, it's so fun to be in New York at Christmas, and I love it. But I didn't finish the first. I never finished 2018. I got bored of it. Wow. I was like, it's too samey. I loved it, but I couldn't finish it.
Yeah, and I did that today after a while bearing through it, and I finished it, and it didn't. And I appreciate that I am the outlier here, so I understand that. But personally, I just felt like, okay,
you're coming to it late too. That's the thing. I think
the thing, yes,
and that's not your problem. A game should sustain and be as you can appreciate it historically now. But I think if you put it up against modern games, I think it would be found lacking.
Yeah, I think so. And that's where I need to try Miles Morales. I've got it. I can't wait to play that one and see how that holds up. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I mean, you say compare that to this, right? You were saying,
to compare it to modern games, and I feel like Spider-Man 2018 is very modern. It does paint by the numbers thing. The open world stuff, that was my thing, Jaffe, about Miles Morales is really great, but I was in the same city I'd spent 32 hours in 2018, and so I felt like, I really didn't do any of the open world stuff really at all. I think I spent like 15 hours into Miles Morales because I just found all the great stuff happen inside buildings and tech labs and sneaking.
There was Christmas decorations. Maybe it's because I was raised as a Jew, and then after about 8 years of growing up as a Jewish person, I became an atheist. But I never had any of the decorations, so now I have a Christmas tree, even though I don't believe in Jesus and any of that stuff. But
it's like a pagan holiday, so you can't have it.
Do
you know where the Christmas tree even comes from? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous story.
It's a pagan holiday. It's from Solar
Invictus. Yeah, of course.
They took over the country or the civilization that had this tree of life in all their communities, and they said, you know what? What's a good way to get these guys to convert? It's kind of like when Activision gets bought by Microsoft pretty soon. It'll be like, most of the stuff you guys do, we're going to change, but you want to keep the weird sexual harassment stuff. All right, you can keep that. So it feels like home. So they said you can keep the Christmas tree and we'll kind of build a myth around it and all this crap. And then you got Kirk Cameron making this movie, Kirk Cameron Saves Christmas. I don't know if you've seen this. It is one of the worst movies ever. And have you seen it?
All of those Christmas movies suck, but
why do you have to bring back Kirk?
Wait, yes, I have actually.
Yes, he's trying to make Santa Claus like to be a badass, and his buddy in the car that he's trying to convince to not leave Christianity goes, "Man, Santa was a badass," and Kirk Cameron goes, "Yeah, he was." I mean, it's so dumb, man. But
anyway, that smile again.
Well, that was at least growing pains, but anyway, the point being about Christmas decorations is Miles Morales has them. Spider-Man doesn't. You make your call. Make the decision, but I would buy Miles Morales.
Now we know where Jaffe stands with the... we're going to have to send him a nice wreath.
Riddlin's kicking in, boys. Riddlin's kicking in, boys.
He's going to open up a box and smell that pine and be like, no. Oh. The chat's like, Kirk Cameron saved... Super Duper Man says, Kirk Cameron saves Christmas. Laugh out loud. That's like... we'll have to get that, embroidered on a shirt. It's going to be amazing. Let me grab a couple supers here because... Hey, you're going to love this one. Screen name gives a super, says, David is the Santa Claus that got fired. And then he has a laughing emoji. So, bro, you can have
because they're like, come sit on. Is that a Junos? How's that Santa Claus? Is that Santa Claustine? There ain't no way my kid's taking a picture with that guy.
But hey, I did learn Santa Claus is like in almost every country their own version. One of them's like a devil. It's like like a creature.
There's the Krampus. The Krampus is amazing. It's a great movie too.
Yeah, I read a kid's book about all the different Christmases Santas around the world, and a couple of them are very frightening, and they're supposed to be whimsical. I'm like, this thing scares me. Assassin
and by the way, think about this. I don't blow smoke at people's butts. Twisted Metal 1, made in 1995, go back. The thing is set at Christmas Eve, and there's Christmas you can't tell what they are, but there are Christmas decorations all over Twisted Metal 1, because I wanted it to be set at Christmas. Okay, I'll shut up. Go.
I love that. Look at that. Let's see, where am I? Yeah. Assassin with the $2 says, "Hey Jaffe, what's your game? What's your game for the fall?"
I need a little more. What does that mean?
Like, what game are you like so excited for this fall?
Oh,
Assassin wants
well, okay. Again, Marvel Snap has kind of come in and really just upturned the game board. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I'm playing it on my PC, but you can play it on phone as well. I'll play it on both. But I'm very excited for Callisto Protocol. I am very excited for. I'm excited for the Call of Duty campaign and for the beta, even if Gaz now says the campaign's crap. I know you didn't. I'm just being the internet for you. I know I'm being the internet for you. And then God of War. I'm excited for it because I know it will be good, maybe even great, probably even great because I think the directors and the team is just crackerjack. I loved God of War 2018, but I didn't finish it and go, oh my God, I'm dying for the next one. Everything I've seen so far looks excellent. The last trailer they put out looks phenomenal, but it kind of looks like more of the same, which is not a bad thing. How can you complain about more of the same when more of the same is 2018's? Yeah, and it's game of the generation, according to a lot of people. But I'm excited to play it because I know it'll be good, but there's nothing they've shown. And frankly, there's nothing I've read in all the hands-on previews that dropped this week that makes me go, oh my God, I cannot wait. I'm like, okay, cool. I bet it'll be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. But it doesn't sit up there with the day one Callisto Protocol. Yes. Oh, and Marvel Suns, man. Marvel Suns moving to December 2nd. I'm a big Marvel guy, and I'm a big real-time turn-based strategy guy, and I'm a big collectible card game guy. So, and Firaxis is doing it. So I know it doesn't share the rarefied AAA air of these bigger games we're talking about. But when you mix XCOM with Marvel with Hearthstone, are you kidding me? I'm going to sit there and things will come out of my body and go into the screen.
I was right.
You can't replace when somebody just freaking loves something. But there's always somebody who slides into your lane and goes, that's trash. Every time
people have opinions, but I will say, like God of War. Did you see the reaction to that one? Who was it? Tony Polanco, who literally said, "Hey, it looks like a PlayStation 4 game."
There was a Gene Park thing that got people upset.
Yeah,
but there was also somebody else who was making a lot of news by saying if you play it on a certain kind of TV, he was like, it looks like a PS6 game. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that was from VGC.
Mark Cerny's like, please, what does it look like? Because we're still making the PS6. Please send me some screenshots.
I loaded it up and my TV doubled itself and went into 4D. Oh my gosh!
120 frames mode as well. It's like
I want to talk about that.
Impressive, very impressive.
I want to talk about that in just a minute. I got to read this super from Detective Seeds, a good friend of mine. He says to David, thanks for making Twisted Metal. My dad was deployed to Bosnia and some other areas around that time, and it really helped me to take my mind off of him being deployed. So thanks, man. That's cool. That's very cool.
Thanks for what?
He said thanks for making Twisted Metal. It got him through.
Oh, I see. Thanks for going to war. I'm like, Jaffe just told us he didn't go to war. Oh, thanks for making. Oh, okay, well, nice. Yeah. Well, so you mean the game was his surrogate?
See, this is what happens when you get, a couple guys with ADD.
3 blokes with ADHD is bad idea.
Truly.
Jaffe,
let me respond to that if I may briefly.
Yes, please.
So, I came up playing video games. I was the first generation of gamers. I was there for Atari and Pong and Pac-Man and all that. I was too young, but there for Pac-Man. And then I got busy wanting to make films, and then I got into the industry. And when you're in the industry, at least my experience being in the industry was that it's not jaded. It's just you can't help but in making the sausage and knowing how the sausage gets made, it becomes hard to remember just being a fan. And since I've stopped working on games for the most part, I'm doing a little here and there. I've gotten the privilege of being able to be a fan again and to fall in love with the medium again. And so up until very recently, when a lot of people would say to me, oh, your games helped define my childhood, or there's a great, it's terrible, but it's very moving story about calling out cars with this guy. They played it, with his brother who's no longer alive. And, and now this guy with Bosnia. Now that I can come at games as a fan again, like I did when I was a kid, those kind of statements really
resonate with you. You feel something before you kind of numb to it all, but now you're starting to feel something.
Yeah.
I think
because I've had that when I was a kid, whether it was movies or, well, not with games, but with movies. And, to know, I'm not saying I did that. The team did that. I understand there's a lot of right place, right time involved. And sometimes it can be the worst game in the world. It can be Superman 64. But if it catches you on the day, your best friend, slept with your girlfriend, it's going to be the game of your life, right? I mean, but I've heard it enough to know that the games we were privileged to work on did affect people. And the older I get and the more time away I get from development, it makes me very grateful to hear that. So and I hope your dad is okay. I hope he came back safe and all that good stuff. Anyway, shut up. Whatever. Let's go on.
Why are you scared of your emotions?
Come on now.
I'm not scared of my emotions. I'm just getting hard.
Me too.
Oh,
we're all
my
hard here right now.
One Panda King says, "Hey Colt, what's up, guys? I finally made it to a live show with a special guest, David. Thanks for being here, Panda." Highlander says, "Thank you, Highlander." He says, "David Jaffe, I was in the Air Force and saw a Bradley, and on a turret it said." Oh my gosh. He kind of had a typo here. He says, I was in the Air Force and I was in a Bradley. I saw a turret and it said Sweet Tooth Ice Cream and an evil clip on it in Iraq. Oh
wow, that's good. Your instrument of death. That tank killed.
Wait. Was it a good guy tank or a bad guy tank?
There's no such thing as good guy tanks.
But what forces were they that had Sweet Tooth on the tank?
I think it was an Air Force Bradley, tank. Yeah.
So it was American?
Yeah, well, I'm sure, yeah.
Oh, well, good. Fuck them.
Sir, it's the enemy. They like twisted metal.
Look, every time America goes to war, it's for a just cause. I know it's always because we're in the right on everything we do over here. But that's pretty cool. That's very, very cool. There's also marijuana strains named after Sweet Tooth and Kratos, and I haven't tried them yet. Yes, and I've only recently started enjoying the marijuana at a regular basis, and I'm very excited now to see how my boys translate after they've been ported to marijuana. You thought it was good. You thought the PS4 to PS5 port was a problem. Let's see how Kratos works on some.
I think if that company,
sativa, definitely a sativa.
If that creator is listening, send some over to David Jaffe. He deserves a sample. Hargy Johnny, thank you so much for the super
royalties.
You owe me a lot of royalty checks there.
They're doing God's work. I don't have to take any money from them.
That's true.
Argy says about the Bayonetta, he says, remember she was one voice actress for Bayonetta. There are others for other languages. Still going to say actors can be very entitled. Yeah, I imagine there's Italian and Spanish and French and all that. But I don't know. Yeah, that is
the
kind
Japanese
of a
one
double
is
standard.
Quite big in Japan, and they didn't even have her in there. Yeah, she said she called out. I always forget her name. She's so big in the space. Not Helena Taylor. What was the other one? The good one.
Jennifer Hale, the replacement.
Jennifer Hale, that's it. Yeah. Jennifer Hale's so good, and then she threw her under the bus. And goes, no disrespect to her. Let me like preface my slap to her face. But I am Bayonetta. I am the voice of Bayonetta. I'm like, come on, man. That's a bad look. But yeah, we've talked about this. But yeah.
Risk over the Biscuit says Miles Morales is DLC. You Xbot. Come on now.
It is.
I'm not. He's an idiot. I know that guy. He touched my mother, and she's dead. But no, that's right. He's taking the piss, as us UK boys like to say.
Yeah, I got to add Highlander added to his the U.S. Army. There, he says it was a U.S. Army Bradley. I was assigned to the unit as I called in air support to make bad guys rethink their life choices, and they were using the Sweet Tooth. That's awesome.
Oh, that's the coolest thing.
I am born. What? Boom. Yeah. Dark. It got dark, right? Yeah, that's right.
I guess it depends. No wonder you hate Call of Duty. God dang. God.
I will say that. I will say this, by the way, as a Muslim who brought up in Pakistan, some bits were of it. It's like, oh yeah, the Arab guy, shoot him. I'm like, mate, it's like you're fucking taking the piss, man. The war in Iraq was a freaking fraud. So
yes, it was. It was a fraud. But I will tell you, I thought Call of Duty campaign was all about drug cartels in South America. It's an Iraq thing again.
It's that and Iraq thing. They have sex. The drug cartels in Iraq have sex.
Leave the Middle Eastern people alone, Bobby Kotick. Jesus. Leave them alone.
Video game, Gaz. Hey, Dickie Darling gives a $2 super for just being here. And Jason Wan, who's a member, says, "Hey, Colt, great show as always. So let's move on to the next thing. I got to ask real quick, what do you guys think about this Gotham Knights gameplay? Game's getting
I'm excited
crapped on?
for it. Well, Gaz, go ahead first. I'll give my thoughts.
I haven't played it. I just been taking the piss out of them.
Have you been watching it, Gaz, or you've been, shoving your finger up your nose and whatnot and other places?
I've played other games. I've completed 2 games. But you want to play this 69 Metacritic. The best thing about this game is the number 69 Metacritic. No, I haven't played it. Look, I have to download it. But you got you. Are you watching it though?
Yeah.
Phil Spencer. You playing it on PC? You're playing it on PC. Why?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of our topics. These developers were hell-bent on giving us ray tracing and all this other stuff, and they set the visual quality, and they're like, it's not going to run at 60 on the console. It's not going to hold it, so we'll just lock it at 30. The game's great on PCs, but actually the game is so poorly optimized. I've got a 3080 with a Ryzen 7, a $2,600 PC. This game is running at half of 4K, no ray tracing, hitching in the open world quite a bit. Well, I got to hear Jeff.
It's the new Crisis. Can you run Gotham Knights?
You run the 69 meta?
Good.
Right.
What do you think of it, Jaffe?
Okay, so I was taking the piss out of this game for a very long time because everything they released for it from the very beginning, and I think it was DC Fandom 2 years ago when they first revealed it, looked really generic and dull. And I'm a Marvel guy more than a DC guy, but I still read DC comics and I love DC and everything. I think the graphics look amazing. I think, I know some people don't. They're like, it doesn't look next gen. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's awesome. The costumes look great. The alternate costumes look great. The fighting moves look great. I hear the fighting's not very advanced because, it's very simple or whatever. But I mean, that's okay. So for me, somebody in my chat said this feels like a great Black Friday game. And it does to me as well, because it feels like there's a lot of problems with it. It can get samey. But there's interesting things from what I've read about it in terms of how they're doing the story. The story is apparently relatively good. I actually went through on my chat and we went through the Metacritic. We can go through all of them. We went through some of the choice takeaways from a lot of the reviews. And it was really interesting. Even a lot of the negative ones, there were those statements like, it's rough around the edges, this, that, and the other, but this, and this. It's one of those things, at least as a designer, I've been trained to, you really, you can find golden nuggets in the worst stinking piece of crap. This isn't that. This looks like it's at worst just a fun, if I can pick it up for $25, a fun time killer that has some really interesting things in it, but it may not have kind of coalesced all together into something great. I'm okay with that. And I think Batgirl's hot and I would have sex with her and make a Bat baby. And I want to watch her behind as it runs through the streets. And it's like, ooh.
Gaz wants to watch Nightwing.
That's how she talks. Ooh, I'm running to Jaffe's house. I would hate it if she talked that way. I would be like, look, you're Batgirl, you're Barbara Gordon, you're Oracle. We'll do the nasty, but please don't say anything. Don't talk.
And I can't stand your laugh. Gaz is a Nightwing fella himself,
Don't make me go Joker on you, Barbara Gordon. Oh, that's terrible. So terrible. He shot her spine, destroyed her spine. Anyway, but no, I'm very much I'm looking forward to it when I can pick it up for like $30. But to ask somebody to pay $70, it's fine. It's fine to raise the price of games, especially when you got people like Gaz going, I want people to limp when they get shot and their guns to come out of their hand. I mean, there's got to be a tipping point somewhere.
That's a real price, isn't it? Is that what you're saying? That's a real price when you ask for.
Well, these things keep getting more and more expensive, and you're talking about PC, and you're talking about, we don't like the Xbox Series X because it harms the next gen games. We don't like that God of War has certain very clear tell signs because it has to be on PS4 as well. It's like, look, something's got to give. We don't like that PlayStation's on PC. It's like, look, you can't have it all. You can't have these bleeding edge graphics. Go play indie games like I do. I love all the different games. I don't just play AAA. But if you're only going to play AAA and complain about it when they come to PC and when they have lower end systems, then shut up asking for the most advanced technology. It's almost like these people are buying like a really nice mid-level Toyota, like a what Toyota, not Corolla. What's the one up from Corolla?
Camry.
They're buying a Camry, which is the PlayStation or Xbox, but they think they've bought a Ferrari, and it's like, no, go get a PC. If you want all the bleeding edge stuff to run at 60 and 4K and make your butthole bleached and all that shit, whatever.
Bleached. Well, I mean, some of this was kind of promised or inferred, right?
So what? So if you're so dumb that, or if you're so inexperienced that you sit there and go, but the PlayStation 5 with the pads about. I don't want Bill Cosby all of a sudden. The PlayStation 5,
have a go ahead.
Well, the PlayStation 5 was supposed to be this. The Xbox was supposed. It's like, dude, it's marketing. Get over it. Yeah. That's like the Camry. That's like when they do the Camry and it's like a beautiful ad that's all sleek and everything. And it's like, guys, it's a Camry. It's going to have baby spit up in it. It's going to be shedding dogs in it. You're probably going to get a dent.
It's not going to be apexing a canyon road at 108 miles an hour.
You're going to get a dent in it and go, do we really need to fix it? It's a Camry. Probably not. It's fine. Right? That's what I got to
apologize to all the Camry owners that are in the chat.
Right, I have a Corolla and I love my Corolla. I'm just saying that I don't drive around thinking I have a Ferrari. I was at Tommy Tallarico's house. He has 2 Ferraris. He's like, Jaffe, what are you driving? I'm like, that gray thing. He's like, behind the gray thing? I'm like, no, it's the gray Corolla. I'm okay with it though, but I'm not an idiot. Like, I bought my PS5. It should be a fucking supercomputer. No, but it's not, because it was $500.
Have you talked to developers about these gripes where people want 60 FPS, they want ray tracing? Because you talk about this AAA, like if you want cutting edge graphics, it costs money. It brings the budget up of games. Have you had a chance to talk with any developers about we want 60 frames from like the because I'm that voice, right? I want developers 60 frames.
The age-old debate, and look, man, it happened with me on God of War with Tim Moss, the lead programmer. I wanted more stuff on the screen, and he wanted to run at 60. And there's no right answer, because I wanted, there's a sequence in God of War 1, the one I worked on in 2, but it was in God of War 2005, where you're on this conveyor belt, and from the top of the screen, there's all these skeletons that just keep dropping and dropping and dropping. And the conveyor belt is moving towards this wall that will kill you with spikes on it. And so you've got to, it's like, when is this onslaught, this insane ADD horde mode going to end? And me and the designer, Tobin, who was doing it, were just like, more skeletons, more, and it was running at like 20 frames a second, but we're like, yeah, but look at all the skeletons. And Tim's like, he's British. He's like, no, we're not going to be able to run at 60 like this, governor. And I said, I don't care. Look at all the skeletons.
So piss with your skeletons, yeah? We've got to run it at 60.
That's right. Shut your gob. Doctor Who with Jodie, whatever her name is terrible. I like Matt Smith, I do. Anyway,
is that like a fight? You got the artist who's like, I want all this stuff on the screen, and then the tech is like, we can't do it. It's not gonna make it. Like, is that what happens?
Yes, but I do think 60 frames in a good way is becoming kind of the norm, and it's not even the visuals so much as it's just, it does feel. You can notice the feeling. It doesn't mean you can't play and enjoy a 30 frames game. You're playing Gotham Knights and you're saying you're enjoying it. You probably don't even really think about it if the game is good. But ultimately, though, a game feels buttery smooth at 60, and there are always going to be trade-offs. And I think what people don't understand is they're like, but it's PS6. Now we'll have 60 frames and ray tracing and 4K and all. It's like, well, every time you get more power, you still are having to rob Peter to pay Paul. You're still having to make concessions, whether it is the visuals, the frame rate, what the game can do, how big the world can be, how fast the game can load, based on all these choices you're making. So, if we were still making PS1 games with the current technology of PS5, people would be, and we could go back in time, they would go, oh my God, Jumping Flash is running at 120 frames per second and has ray tracing. It's like, yeah, but it's still Jumping Flash. It's always going to be that. And frankly, I'm a kid. Last thing I'll say, I'll shut up. I told you the Ritalин's kicking in. I'm not even joking. Not even joking.
Give me one, would you?
Doesn't that slow you down? Doesn't it make you more talkative, doesn't it?
It gets me more focused. And when I'm focused, I talk about things that I get excited about. And
that's good.
Yeah, but unfortunately, what falls away is the little inside out co-pilots in my brain that go, Jaffe, it's not your stream. Gaz has good value.
Jaffe, Gaz has good valuable
things to say. Eastwood has good valuable things to say. It's his show.
At least you have those.
I know, but I have them, and they're right now. They're like taking a shit. It doesn't matter. But anyway, here's my bigger point. My bigger point was
to talk. So just talk.
I was a guy who grew up with like a game Night Driver, and if you're watching the show, go Google Night Driver on the Atari 2600.
Night Driver.
Oh.
Night Driver. Sorry, it literally was
2 colors. Yeah.
It was black and white, and your car looked like the letter T almost, and it was so rudimentary you wouldn't believe it. It was like
basically guideposts in a center line or something like that.
That's right.
Right. All it was.
So if you go and you have that experience, and you stay alive long enough to be able to play Forza 5, and you go, and I made a TikTok about that where I was just putting them together, and you're like, shut up is what I say to you. And I'm just like,
I'm not going to go back to Night Driver just because you have some old memories of it. Fuck off. I'm sorry.
That's not what he's saying. He's like, you have to have some perspective.
I'm being a prick.
Right. I started on the Intellivision, and I remember playing those old racing games that were, in fact, in Gotham Knights, there's I forgot what it's called. Spy Hunter. Spy Hunter's in this game. Do you remember Spy Hunter, Jaffe?
Of course.
Spy Hunter, the top down, like it did, like you got in the back of the truck like Knight Rider, and it came out around the same time that the TV show was out. Not Knight Rider with the Camaro, but the one from 1983 or whatever.
Yeah, I got it.
There's an arcade machine in your base in Gotham Knights, and you actually play a slightly updated version of Spy Hunter in the game. You load it up, and it's like in a 4:3
Is it the Batmobile? Is it Spy Hunter?
No, it's just the regular Spy Hunter game with all the sounds, and it just looks like slightly sharpened up a little bit. But I couldn't believe it brought back memories.
Yeah, and you have that perspective, and it's okay. I mean, it's okay. It comes with perspective. It's not like you're an asshole because someone complains about it. But I'm just saying that once you live through enough time to see how far we have come in such a short amount of time, I just like, I'll take a back seat. I'll shut the hell up, because what is happening in real time and in AR and in VR, it's changing the world. It will continue to change the world drastically. And I'm just grateful that I get to be here and have this experience. And people say, I don't know why they ask me this a lot, maybe because they think I'm going to die soon. Jaffe, are you afraid of death? No, I'm really not. I don't want to leave my kids. But the thing that bothers me the most, other than that, is I'm not going to live to see all the cool tech. I'm not going to live to see plugging into the Matrix and actually living a video game, Yeah. But no,
I like where we're at.
Me too. I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Games have never been better.
There's this weird, this is slightly weird. I don't know. I'm struggling to how I'm going to explain this. But then AI generated, I don't know if you've seen it, AI generated evolution of humans, and what an AI obviously collates data, how it sees human evolution. And I will send it to you, Jaffe.
I want to say I've seen it, but send it because I may not have seen what you've seen.
It turns into a circuit, but it's crazy. The music is so wacky. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. And also, shout out to my source hat in the back. I see it, Cole.
Oh, yeah. I'm at that age where I'm afraid to put it on with the straight bill because I'm like really super old school. Yeah. But thank you, guys. It's amazing.
Thank you.
We got a couple supers here. Let's see.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
No worries.
Sweeping Vistas with the Australian 5 says, "Hey, David." Oh, crud. He's going to ask David a question. Let me make sure that when he jumps off.
Must be called Jaffe,
okay, he's still good here. Where was I? I got derailed. A Red Wolf says, "Here's some cheddar to make things better. You guys rock." Red Wolf and I were talking last night and the night before while I was playing the game, and he's loving Gotham Knights. Man, I'll add to what Jaffe said, guys. Like, if you can find the game, I think $40 or so it's that good. I think it's worth $40 if it gets a patch on console, or if you want to, you can get it at around 45 on PC. What? No.
Oh, am I competitive? Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Of that. Oh,
I love it.
I didn't even wear it on my own show finally, and it's been worn. I can see.
Oh, yeah, well, because my kid stole it and wears it all the time. I finally did laundry and bought the laundry basket into my room, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking take this back.
Wicked, yes.
Well, I've got a sauce hoodie, but it's too warm for me to wear it while we're in the show. Soybean Vistas with the Australian Five says, hey, David, Colt has said for a long time that Xbox needs a huge God of War-esque PlayStation type game. What sort of game do you think Xbox needs?
I know.
I think they need a game like Halo that actually has content.
Is good. Yeah.
No, I love Halo. I love Infinite, and I'm very excited for Forge because I'm hoping everything I've seen from creator maps looks really cool. But I love Halo. I really did. I thought it was great. And I'm not a big Halo guy, so it was fun. What kind of game do they need?
Yeah, what are they missing, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, look, I think they are a much more varied portfolio than Sony. Yeah. I'm not one of these guys that's like all Sony makes is third person. You know, they have a great racer. I don't think you can put Returnal in the same category as Last of Us. It's a very different kind of game. Obviously, there's platformers, but there is kind of a similar tone to a lot of their portfolio. And I know they're trying to change that with the service games and whatnot. I think on the Xbox side, I love the variety of what they have. You know, I mean, do I think they need a Last of Us God of War style game? Sure. Yeah, why not? But I don't know if they have a studio. The investment into that kind of game, not just the money, but the kind of people you have to hire, the level of attention to detail, the great creative management. I mean, look at what happened, and I'm sorry, I do not buy it. Look at what happened over at the Initiative with Xbox. I mean, we always meant to, we were always intended to go with another out. No, you weren't, because if that was always the plan, that was never touched upon in any of their many PR releases and videos. And we're the Initiative, blah, blah, blah. And we're like the super group of Santa Monica. We're hiring all these people. Yeah,
you've hired 75 people on the team, though, for 2 years.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so no. But my point is to make those kinds of games that Sony does so well, would it benefit Xbox? Sure. But I don't think Xbox's play, I think Sony's in a really tough pickle right now because they have built their beautiful, wonderful success on the bones of a very expensive and keeps getting more expensive type of game that they've kind of painted themselves into a corner, and they're trying to get out of it with this service-based game stuff they're doing. Xbox is a little bit more a value proposition in a lot of ways. So like, does Gears of War 5, even though I know it was last gen, but even take last gen, Gears of War 5 is a B title at a production level compared to a Sony Santa Monica game of the same generation or a Naughty Dog game. And I mean, I remember playing it, and it's like the characters when they're in cutscenes aren't even looking into each other's eyes. It's like if I'm looking at you, Colt, at the top of the screen and we're having a conversation, in Gears of War, it's like, yeah, I tell you, Colt, that's gonna have, it's a level of polish that that's not in their DNA. So the question is, does it make more sense for them to sort of paint themselves into a similar corner? Or just go, you know what, good enough is good enough when basically everything is free. And I don't disagree with that. I mean, I understand that some people want that, and I'm sure they're trying to make that. But I would say I would rather Xbox, if it were up to me and I was running Xbox, I mean, honestly, they should. I don't know why in the hell they didn't buy Crystal Dynamics. It makes no sense.
Right.
I know. I don't think Crystal is Naughty Dog. but they're the closest to
them,
Naughty Dog or Santa Monica without being those.
They were so close they got mad at Naughty Dog when they saw the animation and said, those aren't real.
Right.
They got in trouble for that in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
So I wish they would have done that. But as for games, though, I mean, I don't know. I'd rather see them try to make a Elden Ring kind of game or something that can kind of,
capture the zeitgeist a little bit more.
Yeah, and just be not so dependent on production value all the time. I think you're not going to win that way. It's too expensive. It's going to keep getting more expensive. So
I think just one game as well, just to maybe perhaps show that they can do it. But I do like the variety of Xbox. I like that they're in their lane to do that. And I like Game Pass for that, the kind of experiences that we get. And I know it's a shill line, but I really do like having Proteus and Scorn and then Plague's Tale, and then like the variety is insane. Like
they're just missing those two things. They're missing that big
Epic
AAA
Troy. You're a moron. You're a moron. Just don't.
I gotta see this.
Be a grown man. Unless you're the child of this guy in the picture.
Oh,
if you're, because it's like, what a dumb thing to say. Gears looks better than anything in PlayStation. No, it doesn't. And it's not subjective. You might be talking about it in an art direction standpoint. Okay, fine, that's subjective.
I think Gears is the closest thing to what PlayStation's best is. I think that's a better way to say it than to say
but to say it looks, come on, what a dumb waste of $2, Epic Troy. Come on.
Yeah, I've never said that. I said it looks nice, and the raw visual fidelity, some bits may stand out, but you put them side to side, you're gonna lose unless you're blind. In which case, yeah, you're right. I
It's
forgot.
Matt Murdock's favorite game. Anyway,
let's talk about Avowed, because there was this leak with this screenshot of nearly nothing, but it was two hands casting a spell with a generic Skyrim-esque forest in the background, and all the Xbox guys are like, oh my gosh! And they're super excited because they aren't getting any updates on these big AAA games. Gaz, tell me what you thought of this Avowed screenshot where you're sitting.
I know it's a blurry image and there's not much, and this guy's fingers just look like he's got Parkinson's, but really, generally, it looks... sorry, that's inappropriate, but doesn't matter. I was like, oh, even in this blurry, bad, res image, it looks better than I thought it was, which kind of says a lot about my expectations here. But it makes me want to really see this thing in motion. So and it also says a lot that we're just discussing this one little leaked, I hope next year all this changes, this drought of just where is everything from Xbox? What's, because I've been going hard at the management and I don't enjoy going hard at the management. I just want next year I just want to be able to say, they did it. Finally, they made up for the BS and the anemic, output. They've done it. I want to see Avowed, and this makes me excited, even though it's not. It reminds me of the old magazines. I love those days, man. I hate it now compared to the old magazines. Just look at it. I just look at this magazine, stare at that singular picture. It's like that in a way, and it looks nice. And I've said it to you, Jaffe. I don't know if you in your DMs.
I'm looking at it right now,
and I'm intrigued to see how the dual, because they did that in the CGI trailer. They showed the dual hands. So the gameplay actually does incorporate that. How does that work? Seems quite unique in its own right already with dual-handed magic. How that going to work? We know Jess Corden's not played the game, seen early.
He's seen it in action, like alpha footage.
And he said it's improved a lot. Yeah.
Oh, well, hopefully. And hopefully we're going to see it this year. Jaffe, what are your expectations for Obsidian's Avowed?
Well, I like Obsidian a lot. I was not a fan of was it Worlds or Wild? Outer Worlds, right? Yeah. I didn't like the tone of that game. I don't like the kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge humor stuff. But what's that?
You're like me. I didn't.
But I like I like, what is the one I'm playing something from them right now. What is the I don't mean the one that's coming out. Which one? Yeah, Grounded. I was incredibly surprised by. That was awesome. but I like their RPG chops. I like the choices in their games, and I'm much more interested in a game like that. I mean, I'm much more interested if you're going to tell me I could have a game that looks like a Naughty Dog game, but plays really good, but it's kind of standard. Or I could have a game that looks less impressive, but the fidelity is in fidelity of choice. And that, yeah, we wanted your choices to actually shape the narrative. Not like the holodeck, we're not there yet, and it's not procedural. But we wanted to be able to build enough content that if you said, I'm going to kill the king, or whatever the story is, suddenly when you get back to the palace, they had time and they scrapped the next gen perfection for, we have a version of the palace that is when the king is alive and healthy. And then when you come back from the war after you've killed him on the battlefield, we have a visual of that. And it feels like you're really living in the world. To me, that's so much more. That's so much more immersive than just look at this beautiful image, which is great. It's impressive, but I can see that in real life. I don't, so I would rather, I don't look at this and think it looks very good. It looks whatever. It looks like a PS4 game. It's fine. But I'm not playing this for that. Like, I can still play Skyrim today, that at least on my PS5, I don't have a super high-end PC to run all the greatest and latest shit. I have a Camry, okay, or a Corolla, whatever it is. But
a great Corolla,
right? But that's not why I'm playing Skyrim, right? I'm playing it because I want to be lost in the world and make choices and feel like I'm living on an adventure.
Well, on that point though, like, I know you were saying earlier that we should be grateful we had these games. We've come a long way in a short space of time. I still think we are lagging behind in games of where we could potentially be. Like, my dream game is this, like, one thing, massively multiplayer online games on consoles since WoW, World of Warcraft. I haven't seen anything off that scale, like, really that. I want a space game. Like, you are in a crew, like Mass Effect MMORPG. Like, really, like, you're a crew, you enter into the Earth atmosphere or the planet's atmosphere, you have a world.
Oh, shut up, Epic Troy. I don't like this, Epic Troy. I'm not going to look at your chat anymore. I'm listening to you guys. I'm sorry. I can't believe they let this guy come on here and diss Gears 5. I'm not dissing it. I really liked Gears 5. I thought it was it was awesome. It was a great game.
What do you mean? Can't believe they let him on and diss? What is this? A religion? Why is he not allowed to espouse that he diss Gears 5? What is this? The Gears Collective podcast? Epic, just grow up. Anyway,
just don't make fun of Grounded, all right?
I just think generally the games are just stagnant in the AAA space. I can't see any strides in AI. I just can't see any strides in AI.
That's
Ghost of Tsushima. No one's focusing on pretty things, but I want to see what, like, okay, physics. Even then, there's like, I want to see some changes that make you feel something, like an AI or grand scale. And there's, apart from Starfield, which is doing a traditional kind of RPG Fallout in space, well, I can't see what's in the horizon.
Well, Chris Roberts has his thing. I mean, whenever, there are hardcore fans. What is it, Star Citizen?
Yeah.
Whenever that actually,
I mean, there are parts of it you can play now, and I know people who are really into it, but I'm not interested. I try to get into the beta, and it's just too complicated for me. But look, I'll say this on progression. It really comes down to, game design is a very complicated thing to do, let alone talk about to other people who aren't doing it with you, right? And so that's why I love this medium so much, because there is so much potential, but we do, at least in the AAA space, they tend to get stuck because that's where the money is, right? They get stuck with the visuals and the things that you can sell and that you can put on a TV commercial. And I get it. It's business and it's incredibly expensive business. But I think I think it's important to be very familiar with the indie space as well if you really love the medium. I know there are people who are like, I don't want that crap. I just want to play on my big TV, and that's great. Good for them. But if you really love games in general, that's why I always get so frustrated with these console warriors and shit, because I'm just like, if you love games, you're playing on everything you can afford to play on. And you're playing indie, and you're playing the latest and greatest mega blockbuster from Naughty Dog and everything in between. And you're playing stuff that's not so great because there's something interesting about it. You
should be mostly happy. Like, you should be mostly enjoying just about everything. If you're enjoying the show here with David Jaffe and Gaz and I, please hit the like button and show your support. Jaffe's making some good points, and I wonder when a developer sits down and they workshop a game, they're not thinking about. I'll ask David to kind of. They're not thinking about how can we break the mold of what last generation was. I think their initial thought is, how can we make this game great, make it popular, make it fun.
It depends on who's on the team who you're talking to.
Yeah.
There are people that get jazzed to come into work and they leave work at the end of the week, and if they've made some amazing tech art or they've gotten 5 frames back on a level that's been chugging, and and you need that, but that's their level of success, right? You've got marketing who has to make sure that, at least at that level, that the decisions being made are not going to harm the commercial appeal of the title, right? Then you've got designers who do want to do what you're talking about. You've got writers who are probably pulling their hair out going, I know we could be better at this if we could integrate in a way that was more proactive versus just like, we need a cutscene here. And that's getting better, but it's also slow. And I used to say to people said, do you need to go to college to be a designer? And at first I was like, no, because you can get your own engines, not your own engines, but you can, get Unity, get whatever, and build your stuff and build levels, save your money and just live at home for 4 years, build a portfolio, build an online fan base, and go out and get a job. Sure. But now, though, I feel a little bit different, because the in the trench design, no, you do not need school for. But I think there's stuff happening at places like USC Cinema Television, which is where I went to school, but they're happening all over the world, where they really are looking at video games as an art form and looking at the medium and really asking the interesting questions about, what happens when the metaphor of the gameplay matches the metaphor of the story. What happens when they don't match and somehow the game calls it out and it makes you feel something you couldn't feel in any other art form. I think the industry needs a lot more of that. Right now we're seeing it in the indie space, at least the beginnings of it. But yeah, we don't get that in the day-to-day AAA, because it's, there's too many people trying to pull at the product and make sure it doesn't lose money and everybody makes some money back.
And then you have the fans who are armchairing. Before I go to the next thing, I'm going to start the topic and hold it there to read a couple questions here. Developers want the Series S dropped. We're going to talk about this in a second. Yodani Kazada, thank you, says PS5 is a Chevy Cruze with the hubcaps missing, and then he runs off. He's just kidding, though. Yodani's he's a good-spirited dude. Jedi Knight Peter with the Australian 5. Thank you, Jedi Knight. It's good to talk to you as always. He says, a lot of people saying that Gotham Knights, they'll get it when there's a 60 FPS patch. There's no point. There's still no patch for the Arkham series on consoles. I mean, those games are super popular. They haven't even bothered to support them. I hope we're wrong on that. Assassin says, got a dip. But what game should I play tonight? He says, Red Dead Redemption 2, Persona 5, or the Mass Effect Trilogy, Tales of Arise, or The Witcher 3. Which one is it?
It's a completely divergent games.
How about a new game that's an indie game that's not built on a fucking AAA cookie cutter template? I don't know. Yeah,
it's pretty weird though. That's pretty cool.
I assume he's played Persona. I mean, go to Steam or go to PlayStation Store, Xbox, and look at some fucking indies, man. Look at some weird, creepy, weird Halloween games that people are making.
I was playing You Suck at Parking and generally having a good laugh for almost nothing. Risky for the Biscuit, one more. He says, Jaffe, have you given up playing Turbo Golf live on stream? Is it safe to come back and watch? You're almost a pro at that game. Amazing.
You shut your fucking mouth, man.
What am I missing here?
That is one of the best games of the year. It is so good. And it's on Game Pass, by the way. People dismissed it. I don't know how well it's doing, but people dismissed it because they're like, oh, it's like Rocket League, whatever.
That one. I was going to look it up. Of course, yeah.
And it shares similarities aesthetically, absolutely. And to a degree, physics, absolutely. But it is a very different game than Rocket League. And it is there's two neat things happening this year in multiplayer. One, you're seeing with Marvel Snap, which you're basically playing at the same time. So it kills all the waiting of something like Hearthstone. It's one of the reasons it's so addictive. And then what's really neat about Turbo Golf Racing is, yes, it's multiplayer, but you're not knocking the ball away from other people. You can't ram into other people. There's a few things you can do to them, but it's almost more like you're racing and competing against ghosts. So it lives in this really weird space.
There's no griefing.
No, a little bit, but not much. So it lives in this really interesting space that it's still very competitive, but it also is not so... You don't feel if you lose, like, forget it, these guys are too good. It's like you still can have your very own story of success in that game, even if you're the worst player on the field. It's a really smart game. It's great. It's on the goddamn Cock-a-Doodie Game Pass. So what are you complaining about? Go get it. Oh, yeah. Cock-a-Doodie. Yeah. I have to watch my language.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love the hat. It's I like it. I'm
the hoodie, no? A sauce hoodie, yeah.
Oh, it's a sauce hoodie. Oh, okay.
Hello, everybody. We're going to take a little break. It's time to advertise one of the best podcasts on the internet. Mary Poppins and I watch it. We do. It's the sauce. Everybody come get the secret sauce and stick it up your bum. And then afterwards it gets really hot and spicy and you will see the world just like Gaz sees the world. Come on down, get your sauce.
My face is killing me. My face is killing me. Let's talk about these developers that got their accounts deleted on Twitter. The Series S is supposed to be dropped. Gaz, I'm going to start with you. They said the studios have been through one development cycle where the Series S turned out to be an albatross around the next production, and now games are being developed with new consoles in mind. We've heard from multiple that it's a pain, not the CPU or the GPU, but the memory constraint. They want the Series S dropped from production,
That's not quite accurate.
Yeah. Wait, why do you say that, Jaffe?
Well, because the guy you're quoting was an effects artist who worked on I Am Fish, and that guy was no. That guy was responding to, I believe, if I'm getting this right, another developer, and he opened that quote by saying, "We've been making PC games. Developers have been making PC games forever, and we've had to deal with different specs on different hardware. And that's just normal." So he was then going on to kind of not skewer, but to kind of push back a little bit. It sounded like when I read the article on these other developers who were like, it's too much work. And he was just like, yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but try making Overwatch 2 run on, my PC and your PC and somebody's MacBook Air, which I know it can't. That's the business you're in now. It's PCs basically. And again, you don't want to see Microsoft drop the X or the S, because if they do, why? Because ultimately pick a side. Do you want fewer games, and do you want games to be more expensive and even take less risks? Or do you want to let these companies, whether it's Sony going with the PC finally, or Xbox having the S, or God of War being on PS5 and PS4, the money that they will make, that doesn't go into Jim Ryan's crack pipe. That goes back to make sure Cory Barlog doesn't get poached to go to Microsoft. That goes into making sure that Ken Levine stays at 2K instead of going over to Sony. I mean, it goes to saying, hey, let's fund 10 prototypes, and one of them might be the next great thing. But it's like the money has to come from somewhere, and gamers aren't willing to deal with any concessions. All I can tell you is, as a developer and a gamer, I obviously have a different perspective. I was watching the Dodgers play to get into the World Series all this week, and I'm literally sitting in my chair yelling at these people. I can barely walk up a flight of stairs and not be winded. I'm yelling at professional athletes in my chair, telling them, you're a stupid motherfucker. You need to be traded next year. I mean, so I get it. I get it. I get. Yeah, just hit the ball. It's easy. So I totally get it where they're coming from. But if you put your logic hat on for a moment, this is money that, it's not getting any cheaper. And I would hate to see the S, which was their best selling console between the S and the X, at least the first year. I would hate to see that go away because, I think ultimately what will probably happen in a few years is you'll start getting like the thing that they used to have when the Super Nintendo put out Stunt Racing FX and you had the cartridge. It'll be like, oh, this game runs on X and S. This game is just for X. You'll probably eventually start getting to that.
You think that can happen? Like,
sure.
I think that'll happen where a developer says, look, we're not going to make a Series S version. Our vision can't be realized on. I think it's less about that and more about the fact that ultimately Microsoft is going to come to a tipping point where it's like, if we don't compete with Sony on the fidelity of these games, and we are being held back to such a degree. But fidelity doesn't even translate into sales. Like the most popular, most profitable games look like Roblox, or they are Roblox, right?
They are Roblox, and they are. So
what's their approach? Are developers thinking we want to break the boundaries, we want to push the envelope, or are they thinking we want a very popular game that can run across the mainline hardware?
I think there will come a point where there are enough Xbox Series X's that have been sold through, or at least I hope I hope there will. It's a great system. I love it. That Microsoft says, okay, for these titles, Elden Ring 2 that are very big and very ambitious, we don't want to not have that on our system. And the guys at From aren't willing to make these concessions for that game. Okay, this will be an Xbox Series X. I think they're going to have no choice but to do that. Or they can just stream it. I know a lot of people hate streaming. Streaming works great where I am, so,
Hargy-chan just put a Gotham Knights code in the chat for, I think it's for Xbox. Go ahead, Gaz. Thank you, Hargeet.
Thank you.
Go ahead. You were saying something. I interrupted you.
No, I think the PC will always be the lowest common denominator. It's really the developers that have spoken about it have talked about the headaches of contending with extra time and developing or devoting time to develop for the series. As you had the Remedy guy say, but we've had tech director who's the senior chief engineer at Playground Games now, working on Fable, and David Springate, and the guy knows his stuff. He was the tech director at Dirt 5, now was at Fable, and he loved his Series S. And he said, look, that machine is more than capable. It's not going to hold anything back. Now, it's his word versus a VFX tech artist's word, and I'm not seeing this, like I've seen the articles you're citing, but a lot of it is, I'm not hearing specifics of this machine will not be able to do that. And we're still like, until we can truly cross this, and I really hate this cross-gen limbo time, which has extended far beyond, I know, COVID and all of that, supply constraints, whatever. I'm so sick of it. But the moment we can step forward into next-gen fully, which we haven't after 2 years of the release of these consoles, then perhaps we can start to glean whether or not these developers are, and you'll see more discourse if that is an issue. And I don't think it will be, for the reasons, obviously, Jaffe, you've stated as well. Generally, the market will demand that. I wasn't a fan of the Series S existing because I wanted an unhindered next-gen, fully utilize their hardware experience. But my thought process was fanciful, because in the grand scheme of things, that's not how development works.
I think there's a lot more going on than most of us realize. And when you have a technical artist who's, speaking far beyond his pay grade about what's going on, knowing that the Series S alone, the CPU, the processor in there is like a $300 processor on PC. There is much, and I'm working on a video right now that I'll probably put out sometime this week, explaining why there is so much going on in these consoles, on all of them, that are not even being utilized, and those promises like we talked about before. But
But that's
Jaffe,
that's Microsoft. That's on Microsoft. I'm sorry, but Microsoft, and if you're listening there, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing in comparative hardware comparisons between the things? The community or Xbox fans have been crying the tools for 2 years. Where you've not even opened your mouth. Like, where's Jason Ronald talking about the DVR not bloody working for 2 years? I'm sorry, but I'm kind of like... I'm a bit tired of making well, I never really did, because or naivety suggested that okay, let the tools get ready and maybe they'll get there, because what else is the reason for these things not working? But I'm sick. I'm come to a point where I don't care now. I don't care about the excuses. I know, and I want Microsoft to put up or shut up, really. And I'm going to shut up and not put up.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak up on it in the video, because I interviewed Jason Ronald 2 years ago with all these promises of what these machines could do, and it sounds like, well, I'll save it because there's a lot to cover. I got to ask you, Jaffe, about this cross-gen thing. I think it's kind of a fallacy, but do you think we're still seeing games come out that have been worked on for 5 years? Like, we're really yet to see a developer start a game knowing what the Xbox Series and PS5 consoles can really do, right? Is that where we're sitting?
Jaffe?
Oh, you're asking me. Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, David, like, we've seen all these games that have been worked on for 5 or 6 years, but that's like middle of the Xbox One and PS4 generation. Have we yet to see them begin a game like, hey, let's push the envelope. We know what the processing and graphics power are on these new consoles, and the SSD, let's see what we can do.
Not at the level you're talking about. I think games take too long to make. I think there probably were developers that started a year before PS5 came out, and they're still working on their game, and so every year they know a little bit more and a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. I think my response to what Gaz is saying though is a little different. Like, I think Microsoft's problem has always been, at least Xbox, their management. And I don't know if things are starting to turn around. I don't know if Bonnie Ross left by the actual story or she was pushed out. There were a lot of changes that happened at 343, or at least upper management changes that happened recently. You've got Certain Affinity, who's now saying, okay, the technical director has left the Halo group. Thank God we're moving over to Unreal 5. It seems things, at least at 343, are a little bit different and starting to change. Is that a result of Matt Booty, Phil Spencer going, hey, you mean we're supposed to do our jobs? I didn't know that. I thought we were going to pick our butts all day. Or is it just coincidence? I have no idea. But ultimately, if you look at Xbox at a product level, and it is, I'm not trying to be silly or beat a dead horse when I keep going back to comparing these to like mid-level family cars or whatever. Mm-hmm. The expectations, if you look at this thing that has Game Pass on it, it has quick resume. You can play your games pretty much on any screen, even if you have a relatively decent, streaming system. All the backwards compatibility. I was sitting in a parking lot when my kid was at the dentist playing Grounded on my phone with a Backbone controller.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's sexy about the Xbox S. Does PlayStation maybe is better at talking about the tools and this, that, and the other? Yeah, maybe, probably. But if Microsoft got their production management issues dealt with, I do, I had Michael Pachter on my show, and he said he sat with Jim Ryan, and he literally told Jim Ryan that Game Pass is going to eat your lunch. That was his quote. And I think if Microsoft can get their shit together and they can get all these studios they've bought regularly pumping out nice sized games, not just the small indie gems, but some big games every month or two, I don't see how you compete. Especially when you're Sony and your only way you've ever really been able to compete consistently and win consistently is by building more and more expensive product. I think Microsoft has a much smarter game plan, but they seem to have, I don't know, I talk in dumb analogies, I'm bad at them, but it's almost like you've got this amazing football team and no one's there to coach them. It's like, help these guys.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah, so
it is a good analogy.
I mean, that's the initiative analogy. They hired the quadruple A studio comprising of all this mad talent, and apparently, because of the disagreements of managing these competing personalities, because they were such hard, high hires, they absconded or they left. So who was managing that? And we've had that from State of Decay's Undead Labs. They said they were annoyed at the lack of manager, like Xbox's output. They're not doing it. This is one of the problems of this tremendous growth at a short period of time. This is what happens. You grow so quick.
That is a problem, but it's not like before they were growing quick. They had it either. They still shat the bed as internal development. The difference then was, my understanding from developers, and I was still developing at the time, was that they were very micromanaging. And so it really drove developers crazy. And so now it almost feels, unless they're riding the boat, they've gone back the other way, where they're like, oh yeah, Matt Booty just, lets us find our game and take the time we need and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, there's a balance there. There's a balance between being their friend and being like a tyrant. But a good creative manager knows how to light a fire. Light a fire, but also stroke the egos and also motivate. That's what Sony does so brilliantly. They have some of the best creative manager executives in this industry. And I've never understood, with all of Microsoft's money, why they're not backing Brinks trucks up to these people's homes, because they're in the credits. They're easy to find.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think the ABK deal will add that pressure onto them, unless they were hoping that this pre-existing thing will sort itself out, run itself, which it won't, because Blizzard have had issues for ages, and hence Diablo and Overwatch is what it is, basically 1.2, let alone a 2. But yeah, this is the thing with Microsoft. It's frustrating. The potential is there, but I really do think it's a management issue.
It is.
But,
I think so. I mean, what else could it be? They're just all unlucky. I mean,
exactly. This is what I'm saying. Like, at what point are you going to be considered blinkered for saying no? But this is. I mean, how many benefits of the doubts can you give?
I'm out of doubts. I love my Xbox. I want them to acquire Activision. I think competition is good. I think Sony, like we talked about, get Naughty Dog to make a Call of Duty competitor and make it the Naughty Dog way. They would kick the dust off this stale genre, right? I think competition would be great. I hope this acquisition goes through. I really, really do, for a number of reasons.
I think that Xbox desperately needs a second studio head leader, one for the Western Hemisphere and one for the other side of the world. Because to expect Matt Booty to travel around to 25 studios,
that's not even how it works. That's not the issue. It's not that Matt Booty is sitting there with a spreadsheet open for every team going, I don't know if that artist should be making those textures today, right? It's a high level kind of studio head.
Like you're talking about, they got to light a fire. Somebody's got to light a fire under them. Like, where's In Exile sitting? Like, they should be at a certain point by now. Where is the Coalition sitting? Like, how much?
Right. That's what Matt Booty should do. That he doesn't need. He might need help. But what he needs is, again, I don't know the man, and I've seen him speak. I saw him at PAX. He did the Storytime keynote. He's very likable. He comes off very affable. There's nothing about the guy as a human I think is a problem. But I think the proof is in the pudding, and he's in charge of these studios. And if he doesn't have the wherewithal to know, hey, I should probably get a couple of, second lieutenants, which I'm sure he has, to go around and update me on the data. It's more about philosophically, like, for example, when he goes out on stage at PAX and he literally said, and it could have been bullshit, it probably was, but he literally said, I have seen Fable, it looks amazing, and the developer's just not ready to show it yet. I'm like, who cares what the developer wants in that case? It's like, look, when I was at Sony, it was like, look, unless the sky is fallen, we need to reveal this game at E3.
But we've seen the bad of that, David. We've seen that. I think Xbox said, you're going to have Halo ready. You're going to show it at E3 because we're launching this year. And they're like, Craig?
But that wasn't what the bad was. The bad wasn't the demand. The bad was then whoever was managing that demand couldn't get it done.
Yeah,
keep up to the 2018 vision of what they actually showed off. But presumably 343 of their own volition showed off the slip space engine, and whatever they showed off after that was horrendous. I don't think.
I think you have like you said, you have at some point to stop making excuses, and you have to say, look, this is competition. Yeah, we would love our teams not to crunch. That'd be great, but it's going to happen sometimes when you're playing in the NFL. It's what fucking happens. No, I mean. Do you see these football players going, oh, yeah, I'd like to play. I don't like getting hit. It hurts. No, you motherfucker. You're playing the fucking one of the biggest stage in the world, just like Sony and Xbox.
You're going to have to go head first. The problem is it's been 5 years since they started acquiring studios, and the only thing they've launched is stuff from 343 already existed, from Playground Games for Forza already existed. And of course,
Tim Double Fine.
Yeah, but it was a multiplayer. Like they haven't put out an exclusive game from that acquisition because it's been 5 years. Games take 5 years, and we're all sick of waiting. But then not even that. Like I can sit here and say I was so sure Avowed was going to be shown at E3 2022 this year. Right. I was so sure this spring that Avowed was going to be shown and it was probably going to release this fall. Now I'm sitting in a situation where I'm not even sure if Avowed is going to be shown this E3 for a release in the fall. Like I have those doubts because of how much everything's been behind. Somebody has to be globetrotting with or on behalf of Matt Booty when he can't be everywhere and saying, "Hey, where are we?" Like, but I like them.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are saying that, but there's a difference between saying where are we and going, oh, we're here. That's not good enough, and we're not going to let you stay in that captain's chair, Picard, as long as you think you deserve to. We're going to hit the ejection seat and get somebody else in there. That's the problem. I don't know why. Maybe they're starting to their credit. If you look at the changes at 343. If you look at the changes at Certain Affinity with them going to the Unreal Engine, I mean, that alone is asinine. That you release your flagship title, Halo, and you have such an anemic output of fresh content this far in.
Did you watch the Kroby Cat thing, Jaffe?
I don't know what that is.
You know what that is?
Acrobat Cat is a YouTuber. I'll send you the video, and just like summarizing how Halo was handled with Bungie.
A million views in 24 hours. He showed the rise and fall of Halo, and then bookended it with this is how amazing Halo used to be when Bungie was, working with Xbox in the beginning. But yeah, it's really touched a nerve for Halo fans and Halo haters alike. I think
I love Halo. I love the new Halo. It's great. Mm-hmm. That's the tragic part about it. It's not like they put out like some piece of crap. They put out a great multiplayer shooter, and they put out a pretty solid campaign. Mm-hmm. But where's the rest? Where's the
I got it in the neck for my review where I called it an incomplete masterpiece. Like the building blocks are there, the gameplay fundamentals are there, but there's no meat on the bones. And that's what I'm saying. And I'm so glad that you're here to talk about the management. Because again, as soon as the Showcase E3 thing event, me and you, Colt, I was scathing in my remarks about management to the point where the PlayStation guys were tweeting, look at this guy, Colt's going to get his check cancelled as if he gets paid by Microsoft. But it's such nonsense.
I do too. I'll take a check from these guys.
Let's write it up.
Yeah. And I get it in the neck from the Xbox guys, but the everything you've said, you just hit the nail on the head there. And if I want proper transparency, they could keep talking about they're so transparent. What was they transparent about? That Matt Booty really wanted to show Fable because it looks nice. It's just nonsense. We have to demand more. And the attitude, and sorry,
well,
Chat, you may.
Well, go ahead.
The attitude may be like, I think the attitude, Chat, should be you should be unrelenting in your demand now. You said you've had enough. Enough is enough. Don't just rely on your Starfield and your Redfall, the two games that were supposed to be this year. Show us everything else that you've been working on. Show us your Fable. Show us your Avowed. Show us your Hellblade. Get a release date for that bloody game that you showed.
But I will say to that though, to be fair, the problem with that, and I agree with you, but the problem with that is if somebody came to me, it depends on what they're looking for. Xbox is still a great buy. Xbox Series X. No, I know, but what I'm saying is, like, you're talking about, like, if you're the kind of gamer like you are or I am, where you get jazzed about something like Proteus, which is awesome, or you can play things that aren't just AAA, having a Series X or just Game Pass in general has been insanely cool because of every month there's like 10, 12 brand new things, sometimes often day one, so their first party is terrible and lacking, and something needs to happen. And I hope it already is happening. But I think what's compelling about the product, Xbox Series X and S, or Game Pass, is that even with all of those problems across their studios, or seemingly problems, they still have, I think, really the most compelling console right now on the market. And I love my PS5. I love the exclusives. I think Sony makes better exclusives in terms of in a genre than Xbox. But
easily,
as a unit, I mean, it's I can't imagine being a kid and it's coming home and it's like a fucking buffet of junk food. If you're a kid, it's like, why would you not love this thing? It's amazing.
I have kids that. I'm sorry, guys.
Go
real quick, I'll just say I have kids who hear me talk about Xbox and video games ad nauseum, and they love games, but like they're not like ingrained like I am. And when I bought them Game Pass like a year ago, they were like, "What?" Like they've heard me talk about it, but they load it up and they're like, "What?" Like Slime Rancher 2 is coming. I got this and this and this. All these games, like it blows them away. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, no. Someone goes, "Oh, Gaz can't wait for Forge for 1 month." I'm like, are you stupid? Why would you make that comment? You lot were the same people. Like, you can't wait for co-op for 3 months. How long did 3 months turn into? You guys are like
a year.
I mean,
a year.
Ridiculous. This is what I said. Delay Halo. You have a fully fledged product that then momentum makes everything. Forge. Now you're hanging out your hat on Forge, where all the defenders are off. The anemic Halo were like, Forge isn't even that important. Now the hopes are on Halo. Oh, what about Battle Royale?
The hopes are on Forge now.
We'll change it.
I can't wait. I genuinely can't wait for Forge. I'm super excited for it.
Neither can I. But what about the single player roadmap? You were told a story that was incomplete. You've got the endless nothing. You have got no aggressive roadmap. I would never in a million years handle that franchise like that.
Because of that multiplayer deficit that of content, that continuation of the single player is even further out. And by then it's like, and I'll just to say it again. Gaz and I really like the Halo game. We really we like all that stuff. You have to let us you have to let people criticize things. And if you don't agree, like if someone says, like if whoever it is at IGN says Modern Warfare 2 is a 6 out of 10 and you think it's going to be a 9, at least play it before you get mad. But why get mad at someone else's opinion?
You know the answer. I wonder if they know the answer. The answer is you have wrapped up some of your own self-worth, just like religious people do, into this hobby, and it means more to you than it should. And it's tough to say that because we also have the guy from Bosnia, or whose dad went to fight in Bosnia, who's like, I've come up in this hobby, in this medium, and this art form means so much to me that you want that passion. You appreciate that passion as a fellow fan.
It is a major part of us, right?
And a developer. But at the same time, it's important to also have a little self-awareness, unless you're just trolling. People are just trolling, that's fine. But if you to have a little self-awareness and go, guys, it's not you. If Xbox, the other team can do great things, and you can still give them kudos, and it's okay to criticize things that you love. It doesn't make it bad. It's just there's a real lack of mental health going on in that, where these people, I think, need to do a little self-reflection, because it really reflects a person that's not fully baked, I think.
Yeah. I think it's intellectually deficient. It's intellectual deficiency. I'm sorry, as horrible as it sounds, and I'm not having a superiority complex, but it really is, because you're unable to pull yourself away from that passion and observe objectively. And
Yeah.
we are Xbox passionate people. We want like Xbox to do well. I want all of them to do well. But I just find myself incredibly jaded with some handling or elements of the brand, like the power thing. I'm not even going to I barely talk about it, like the comparative power thing. That was a big thing running up to this next gen. This 12 teraflop machine, I just don't even want to talk about it. That's just like a slap in the face. And then now the handling of, because the potential of what these first party studios, if they were managed properly, and I really do think it's a bad management problem, is high, but they routinely mess up. The Redfall and Starfield delay it, but then that cannot be. I do not want to see or hear excuses when that game isn't working or whatever. You cannot. I don't know. Is it a difference in mentality? Is the way we were brought up, or my strict Asian parents, or that they expected that, or is it older gen, you and me, David?
Where were you raised? What country?
Well, I was born in Pakistan. I was raised there.
Where did you go to school?
Well, for 11 years I studied there. Then I moved to the UK.
Right. I mean, a lot of it is, I'm not saying that it's an American problem at all, but I definitely think the schools in the UK, the public schools, are better. They teach more critical thinking. They teach more, comparison. It doesn't mean that they're, they also have stupid shit like the royal family, fucking idiots.
Yeah,
so I'm not right. I'm not saying it's like some, paradise. I'm just saying that when it comes to that kind of stuff, I do find Americans tend to be much more tribal when it comes to things that an education could allow them, like even our politics in America. It's
sports,
like,
yeah.
Well,
sports
yeah, it's like
products.
you can like Trump, hate Trump, like Biden, hate Biden. But if you come into a comment and you just say, oh, it's trash. And I'm like, okay, interesting. Why is that policy trash that Biden is proposing or that Trump is proposing? They just go away. It's like, it's not about that for them. It's about something
agreement
else.
or disagreement.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm really
lines
enjoying
as well,
Gotham Knights.
America, by the way.
What's that, guys?
Yeah, sorry.
No,
Sorry,
I
was
couldn't
thinking,
hear you.
I did notice that in with discourse with Americans, I feel like you're almost committed to partisan lines. Like, I hated Trump, and I think Biden's an idiot as well. But when I critique Biden, I've had Americans like, "What? Wow, it's a bit weird. I didn't expect you as a person of color to be a Trump supporter." I'm like, what? When did I say that I supported Trump? Just because I critiqued Biden for smelling babies' heads?
You could talk.
Mean I'm like
it's also just a lack of intelligence. We got Epic Troy. Epic Troy is now officially on my list. He says, "What the hell does this have to do with gaming?" I just explained what it has to do with gaming. It's called a comparison. It's called an analogy.
Yeah, you can
that's
talk about
what
politics.
it has to do.
People insult me because I like pineapple on pizza. I get people who fight the console war against me and call me names, and I'll look, and the only thing they do on their profile is make fun of other gamers, or they make fun of the other football team in the UK that they can't stand. So it's like there's a tribalism.
Look at the chat. Look at the chat now.
They play football in the UK?
Oh, we play actual football. It's called soccer. It's called actual
football.
That's what football.
Oh, the Ted Lasso show. Yeah, that's a great show.
The Ted Lasso show. Yeah, I mean, people are really tribalistic, and
Epic Troy, you're an idiot. He says keep it out of gaming. You're an idiot.
There's loads of people there. Politics affects everything. Let's not talk about politics. Down finger. Politics gets so stop the politics. Do you not understand? We're trying to explain to you that we are espousing or discussing maybe the American mindset of drawing partisan lines, and it feeds into gaming discourse because you see it is one parcel here and there. We're not saying Biden is bad, Trump is good.
And by the way, I don't think you can have a fair conversation like this without also taking into account the fact that, and they're going to, it's politics, but if you don't take into account the wonders and the horrors of capitalism, right? And if you don't take into account the fact that a lot of these people that are easily pulled into these tribal scenarios, there's a reason for that. It's not necessarily that they're stupid any more than it's not necessarily that if I'm not pulled in that I'm smart. I'm privileged enough financially, skin color, I have, a dick, I have a lot of things that allow me to rise above the 30,000 foot view and go, this doesn't seem fair. But if you're a guy who's just kind of dealing with a shit job and, you can't quite make ends meet, you can't get out of the mud that you're stuck in, I think this is kind of the bread and circuses of our time. It's the entertainment that numbs the masses to the reality that the world is a shit place when it comes to the people at the top that are shitting all over everybody at the bottom. And I think you have to acknowledge that.
I think the people, I've been in lots of fights and arguments, and the people that insult me or make it personal, they're going through some stuff in their life. So it's not, it doesn't even have to do with, like, we could compare it to whatever is going to be tribalism or whatever. But the point is that if you're attacking people and jumping into their lane with their opinion, which is not even like something we were planning on talking about today, like, just think about, like, I'll just tell you this. One day I had a really bad day. I was in a lot of pain, hurt my back. I didn't know why it hurt or when it was going to stop. And I was
Snowflake.
like on Twitter, and my buddy dealer messaged me. He's like, Colt, what's going on with you today? I go, what? He goes, why are you fighting with everybody? This isn't like you. Like, you're lashing out, you're jumping into people's threads. And I'm like, I don't know. And then I realized, I was really miserable that day, like super miserable. And I'm like, wow. And I noticed people act that way, but it's all tribalism.
I mean,
but let me flip the other side before we move on. We'll move on from this. But if you're having a good time, if you're enjoying the hobby, like, you're a happy person, you're not going to jump in someone else's lane. And right now, I'm really enjoying what I'm playing. I know David's really enjoying what he's playing. Gaz, he didn't like 2 games. He's played a ton of stuff. I don't think it really matters.
Modern Warfare. Stop. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Modern Warfare 2. I just didn't think it hit the potential could, and some bits were better than others. I think generally people, you will like Call of Duty. If you like 2019, it didn't hit as hard, but you will like it. You will enjoy it, maybe a lot. So don't just look at the score. This is why when I did reviews, I said no score, because people don't look at the number. Don't even bother reading it.
They don't even listen. They don't even listen. Ice Cold Cabbage with the 4-5 pound super says, Xbox needs to stop being so nice and start fighting hard. We all see how awesome the ecosystem is now in the console. It's time to get the gloves off.
They're fighting hard. They're buying Activision, you moron. They're fighting very hard. They just bought Bethesda. They have everything right in so many ways. It's one little point. It's their management of product development. Their marketing is pretty good. Their product is great. Their services are great. They just got to get out of their, we want to be nice to everybody when it comes to managing product. But
I wonder if that's going to change as they fight through this thing. If they'll get a little less kumbaya.
It's fucking better. Because
I mean, you like to see it.
No, only because it's like they have it's like you've got this beautiful rocket on the launch pad and you've got everything to launch to go live on Mars. It's perfect. It's like they forgot the fuel. It's like it's one thing.
Yeah, it's so true.
Who brought the fuel? Jerry?
As Matt Booty was going to bring the fuel, but he said it looked like a guy was carrying it and made him hurt his back. So he said he can just wait and bring it next year.
Oh my gosh, we'll bring it next year. Elias Carvalho with the 27 real says, thank you, Elias. He says, PlayStation delayed their AAAs from 2021 to this year. I guess PlayStation can and Xbox can. Hypocrisy. Okay, let me, before you guys, I know you want to jump on this one, but because I say the same thing. If PlayStation, I'll be on Elias' side for a second here. If PlayStation didn't have Horizon and God of War Ragnarok and Gran Turismo 7 delayed, they wouldn't have any first-party games this year at all. They would have Sifu and Stray. Okay? And of course, if you're a diehard Xbox fan, it's like, that feels better. But for 25 years, they put out great exclusives on a regular basis.
That's right.
Yep. So take it, Jaffe.
No, that's all. That's exactly my take. It's like when people bring up the hypocrisy, it's like it's not the same thing. You've got one company that has credit in the bank. They have consistently given gamers high quality, top quality, best in breed products, and they have given that since PS1 days back in 94, 95. And then you've got a company that has never been able to get this part of the mousetrap right. So it's not hypocrisy.
One whole failed gen. It has one failed gen. An entirety of a failed gen PlayStation has never had. The Xbox One was a failed gen. So you're not level playing field. So there's no hypocrisy. And by the way, delay or not delay, last year we gave Xbox the win for having its Forza Horizon and whatever first party. Yeah, and we did that. And this year, absolutely getting slapped around before God of War is even out there. Next year, PlayStation may have blown its load, may not have much apart from third-party deals, maybe Spider-Man 2, but Starfield, Redfall, if they hit alongside your Diablos, if that's considered a first-party game, if the ABK deal goes through along with something else, hopefully something else, because these two games, your logic should apply to next year as well, then what happens? So look, it's not hypocrisy. You need to understand exactly as gents have said, there's not a level playing field. Xbox is playing catch up despite being $1 trillion.
And it's going to be one heck of a catch up. It's going to be it's going to be big time because it's been Xbox always has 1 or 2 games every year.
3.
PlayStation usually has 3, but like Jaffe said, the 3 are always in the zeitgeist, always get compared to being better than what Xbox puts out from first party, right? So I've seen it over and over. I've talked about it every year. I've made a video on the comparison. Detective Seeds has a really good point. Thank you for the super. He says, if you don't critique or hold them accountable, the things you love, they are not hitting their true potential. You're failing as a fan and as a friend. Constant comfort breeds laziness and lackluster content. Very good super, because I think because of the many millions of voices on the Xbox platform that have said, where are our games? Where's the power? Where is this service? Where's the level of value on the platform? And Xbox went out, like Dave Jaffe said, they went out and bought Bethesda and they went and bought Activision Blizzard. Like, they are pushing hard, they're spending hard, and that is going to come in and absolutely finally blow us away.
That's what Xbox did. Xbox only fixed it. The course correction happened because they listened to us. So why would we stop talking?
Some of us.
Some of us. Yeah.
Well, they don't care. They listen to money. That's the only language these corporations.
The money comes from. I will always say that cascading effect from core gamers.
Does the hardcore gamer make up a lot of the money, Jaffe?
I think it depends when in the generation you're talking and what game you're talking about. But what I'm saying is these companies, and I don't mean this like, that's every company. That's every single company on the planet for the most part. Unless they're a non-for-profit kind of charity, their job is to continue to make money and make profit. And so it's not that they're going, come on, Matt Booty, I was listening to Colt and Gaz and Jaffe, and those gamers are upset.
Maybe.
It's more about what that yields, though, which whether or not people listen to people like us or people like Colin or people like Kind of Funny or whatever it is they listen to that motivate them or give them thoughts on games or they come to their own conclusions, hopefully. Ultimately, none of that matters if it doesn't affect the pocketbook, right? So what they're really doing is going, what is our return on investment on Halo so far? We mapped it out to be this because we thought the free-to-play microtransaction economy would be this. Well, it's not. Now, sure, people are complaining, but beyond complaining, they're not buying. I'll give you a very quick, great example. I don't want to belabor the point, but the guy who did Battlefield Heroes, which was a free-to-play game on PC, and I think his name, Ben Cousins, he was kind of ran the thing at EA. And he did this fascinating talk because it was at the nascent part of free to play in America. And it was one of the first games to really launch to try to go big and try to do what they were doing in South Korea. And he gave this talk where he showed everybody the comments. You can still find this on the internet, where he showed comments of people going, we love this game. It's not pay for power. It's just cosmetics. We love it. We love it. We love it. And he said, the problem is nobody was spending any money, right? So they said, let's do an experiment. Let's change and actually start selling some power. Not a lot, but enough that if you really want to win and dominate, your chances are going to go up meaningfully. Not 100%, but it's going to go up meaningfully. And they did that. And they got so much hate mail and so much hate and so much internet hate. But surprise, they suddenly started becoming, they were never profitable, but they suddenly were like, oh my God, the very people that are complaining, we track their accounts, and this guy's complaining, but he's spending. And so it's like, ultimately, that's and I don't mean that like they're evil, although they probably are, but I mean that like in that movie Arrival with Amy Adams, it's like, that's the language they speak.
Movie.
That is the language they speak. It's not that they're good. It's not that they're bad. It's like, you can't speak to them any other way, is what you spend your money on. So I think that's crucial, because a lot of people are like, they listen to your spending habits, but don't conflate the two is what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that Arrival movie too. I know Gaz and I are sitting thinking that's a good movie.
Genius. Danny Villeneuve, Blade Runner, Dune.
Yeah, just don't tell Zocker. Biff Rinaldi has a good super. He says, I got to ask Jaffe about this. He said Sony needs to play catch up on a subscription service or get left behind.
Yep.
Absolutely. Sony's problems are worse than Microsoft's, by the way.
I'll ask you two questions.
Right. I agree.
I'm going to ask you two questions about that. Like, I think you already said you agree, but when do you think they're going to go day and date with their premium subscription? Like,
I don't know if they will, and I don't even know if they will need to, but I think what they will need to do is start in the same way Jim Ryan is out there doing these service-based games. I really hope they're out there doing these other commercial, I don't mean arty-farty shit like we got on PS3, which was great, but that's not going to move this needle. This particular needle needs really good commercial content that is built from the ground up to be day one on PlayStation Plus, whether it's premium or their second tier or whatever, or it'll waterfall down, eventually be on all of it. So whether that is a standalone, they did this once on PS3, like a standalone Ratchet and Clank that's just kind of another little 4 or 5 hour story, launches day one, and then and it doesn't break the bank to create, and then the next month it's this really cool multiplayer only really cool shooter like Slipgate that they came up with, that they only have the rights for. They need to make their, like, let's put it this way, you're not going to get the most expensive movies being made today, you'll get day one on Disney Plus, right? But Netflix can still compete with Disney Plus with The Queen's Gambit or Stranger Things, or things that are still cool, still commercial, but less expensive. But I don't think they are going to necessarily want to or be able to go day and date with Ragnarok or Spider-Man 2 or Wolverine. But I think if they don't,
can I ask you to take a guesstimation, David? If PlayStation said all of our new games, God of War, Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2, Wolverine, the new Naughty Dog game, are going to be day and date on the premium $18 a month service, how many millions do you think would join that first year? Because I'm wondering if they would
I still do not think it's I'm sure they've sussed it out, and
I know.
I still don't think it makes that service more compelling than Game Pass, though. Because because ask yourself what are you getting? You're spending, you can basically, although I would never suggest Ubisoft games are close to PlayStation games, but I paid $15 on Amazon Luna, and I got Ubisoft Plus, and in like 1 month I was able for free for $15 a month to play that Phoenix Rising game, Valhalla, and I think it was their bike game or whatever, their downhill bike kind of thing.
What is it called? My brain's gone.
Republic, Riders Republic.
Riders Republic.
Right, that's it.
And it's just like end of the day, it's like that, what that would make you do is go, I'm going to subscribe for a month to get Ragnarok. I'll play it. It's one and done. I'll cancel my subscription. Ooh, look, March, they're dropping Spider-Man 2. Cool. Here's $15, Sony. Right? Why would you not do that? Whereas Xbox, if you like what they're offering, and hopefully they'll be offering more when their studios get their heads out of their buttholes, is I'm not even kidding. It's twice a month. It's here's 6 to 8 new games on Xbox, and most of them are day one.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't, but most of them are day one. Come on.
And 2 to 3 of them a month are pretty cool. Like they do two segments like in the first half of the month.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's what is great about Game Pass. It's not so much that you're getting day one drops of the biggest games, although that's going to be great when they do that too. It's that it's a constant waterfall of new content, interesting content, and how can, that's what Sony needs to do with theirs. I don't think putting Spider-Man on there day one is going to matter, but I certainly think saying Spider-Man comes out here, it's always going to be on PlayStation Plus 12 to 18 months later, always. Just like a movie, the movie's coming. So that way there's at least a kind of a comfort there of that's what I would say. I don't know.
But that short-term bridge I think that's why I think Game Pass represents a paradigm shift potentially in the way you enjoy it. I mean, we might already be in that shift because I do associate the likes of Scorn, the likes of Proteus, all of that excitement. Like it's almost like akin to when I used to buy my games pirate CDs in Pakistan because obviously they couldn't afford it, but you get 1,000 CDs, and that's what I'm getting. Like that's what it feels like. And
Columbia House.
It's an exciting thing when a new cool game, and you don't have to buy it. Scorn is probably something I still want to try to finish, but so far but I'm like, it's not, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a mind shift that people either have to have or simply will refuse to have, where it's like potato chips or TV shows or music. It's like not everything has to be game of the year. Just fucking go game, man. There's a lot of cool shit out there. I mean, can you imagine a lot of these people who claim to be gamers and they're sleeping on Proteus?
Yeah,
how the fuck do you sleep on Proteus?
I played that today just before the show. I was loving that game.
Great.
Like,
it's a fucking shooter, and it's gory as fuck, and it's violent, and it's fucking Eagle Fang karate. What do you
Makes
mean?
you feel like
Eagle
93.
Fang karate. That's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, there's like 5 games that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to play that. Some I bought, some were on Game Pass. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm interested in that. Then it becomes my favorite game that month. Like, I get sick of I'll wait for it on Game Pass. That one bothers me. Like,
it doesn't bother me. That's the business. I do it all the time now. Why does it bother you? Why would you not wait for it on Game Pass? There are certain games that are coming to Game Pass. They got Game Pass stank all over them, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing.
That's true. Yeah. And I was going to say that gaming is also super expensive. It's a pretty expensive hobby for somebody who's not leaving the house. Like I'm not leaving the house because I'm playing so many games sometimes, right? Dub says Sony had a time advantage on learning how to manage their studios. In a way, I hope Xbox gets to. Not all Xbox studios have issues, in my opinion, he says.
Yep.
I think he is not wrong. I was at Sony at the very beginning of PlayStation, and we had so many canceled games and so much go wrong for 4, 5, 6 years that if it wasn't for stuff like Crash Bandicoot saving us or Insomniac with Spyro saving us, or Game Day saving us. I mean, Twisted Metal helped. Warhawk helped back then. Yeah. But to be fair, though, there were a lot of canceled internal games because these people the managers didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
Sony gave them the time to learn. But at the time, I'm sure if we could have said that girl knows how to do it, they would have hired him. There just weren't a lot of people who knew how to do it. Microsoft has a map. Microsoft's been given the fucking roadmap. Here's the treasure map, Microsoft. They're just not using it. It exists. So
absolutely.
Hey guys, I got about 5 more minutes and my kids want me to make pasta, so I got to run.
Oh, it sounds delicious. We are wrapping. One super says, Elias says, who was the best publisher last year on Metacritic? And he's just pushing that Xbox.
Cares? Who?
I need to put it on my shirt. So if anybody's, I can move my jacket and say, well, who got Metacritic?
I mean, it's I can't come up with the best analogy, but it's like something you never cared about before, and suddenly it helps.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, and now it's like, come on, you didn't want to fuck me in the bar before, but Metacritic, Publisher of the Year, let's go. She's going in with me. Come on.
One of them was Halo, which we've talked about was great and bad, but Psychonauts 2 was fantastic, and of course Forza Horizon 5 is amazing. So yeah, they had a really great year, but this year is probably their worst ever. And I keep telling people, I don't know what to tell you. I've never seen Xbox this bad.
That AAA first party games. Yeah. In terms of AAA first party,
let's start with of course. Let's start with you. Give us a quick outro. Tell us what you have in the works, and then we're gonna let David Jaffe push his podcast and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I have a very ambitious Source video that's coming out. I promise you, hopefully, okay, not promise you, that's going to break my promise. Hoping to promise this week because I'm in Thailand for 2 weeks next week, so I won't be in XNC. So yeah, check that out. That video is going to be pretty mad and pretty adult, long language. So yeah, watch that. But yeah, thank you so much. Check out Game On Daily, one word. But it's this next gen who is a gem. You will never get. This is not just me posturing and sucking off Jaffe because he's here. The value you get from the creator of Twisted Metal and God of War, and then running a YouTube channel, and then speaking freely with that experience, no filter. I do feel like people take it for granted. I do think people take it for granted, and I think that people should welcome that there is a force, and I see it as a force that can speak like that. So
and you can learn.
I think I glean a lot of, and I'm not just saying this, I glean a lot. You have directly motivated me to say the things that I have said in the way that I say. I'm almost like fast tracking my progression in this space, not pandering or not being like sequestered, if I mean, in the way I'm thinking. So honestly, I have nothing but admiration for you. I
do very much appreciate that. And I think if you want my advice as well, I don't know why you talk so funny. If you talk like Colt and I think you'd probably have a bigger audience. I don't know. It's so weird.
You taking the piss yet?
It's like, oh, flag means death. Here comes Gaz.
Let's get rid of your accent, Gaz.
Oh, is that what? I thought it was a speech impediment.
David, you've been so awesome, bro. Thanks so much. Like,
thank you for
like
it's so
hang
good.
Out, man.
Yeah, it's you know, man, and you got to come on my show. Of course,
yeah? Just let me know.
All right, listen to me.
Us.
I have to tell you guys something. So,
okay, I'm listening.
At David Scott Jaffe. That's where you can find me on Twitter. YouTube's doing this thing with handles now, which I appreciate. I think that's a good change they're making. So, but if you go over to YouTube and you want to watch some of our stuff, it's basically David Jaffe Games, or it's called Gabbin and Games. Just type my name. What I will tell you though is, if you're interested in this kind of shenanigans, 95% of what we do on the channel is games, video games, all that stuff. But from time to time, we go off the beaten path, especially at Halloween. We are doing. I watched the movie Host. Have you guys seen the movie Host on Shudder?
No.
It's about these young women who have a virtual seance because it's the pandemic and shit goes tits up super fast, right?
Oh, I see the trailer for that.
Yeah, it's really creepy, really good, really weird. And so right immediately when I was done, I'm like, I have to do that. So I went out, I got a medium who has also written video games, but she has been on a number of TV shows as a medium. She is a exorcist, and she is coming on October 28th for members only, can sit in the chat and sit at the virtual seance table and talk. She's going to lead us in a seance to talk to the other side. That will then be live for everyone free on October 31st. She'll also be on the show that day or the day before for an interview about her stuff. And then we're always doing, we got a Ken Levine game show coming up that if you're smarter than Ken Levine and a bunch of video game trivia, you'll win like I think it's like Metal Hellsinger codes. There's a lot of shit going on as we head into the holidays. So visit us over there, Gabbin and Games, David Jaffe Games, at David Scott Jaffe. And really, to the guy in the chat I was ragging on about being really dumb. I mean, yeah. Work on that.
Just tell him you love him. He
might be a great guy. He might be a great guy, but my God. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you guys for putting up with me. Very much appreciated. I'm going to go make pasta for the children folk.
Go enjoy, man. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks, everybody. Anytime.
Hit the like on the way out. Gaz, thank you so much, bro. I gotta go hit the button. I gotta hit the button so you can say your thing.
Let's talk.
Hold on. I'll just go to the like that. There's a couple people here still hanging out. What did you guys think? Like, he's so fun, but it's a cool thing to hear from somebody who's sat next to people that made decisions, that cracked the whip, that
he
made
made
games.
Twisted Metal and God of War. Those are like insane legacy. But the thing I like about David, I was intrigued at how you'd handle it with a family-friendly show. It started not to being family-friendly. Chat, if you didn't like that, sorry, but that's the guest like you have. I'm not sorry, but so yeah, your sensibilities.
Yeah, I mean, I do get a lot of
affected.
people that say they can watch the XNC podcast, when family's in the room or adjacent. And I've been there because I was on RDX podcast. And sometimes, we got Zocker in the chat. Zocker might drop a word and I'm like, ugh. I mean, my kids have heard the word, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I understand that. It's fine. It's different audiences.
Squeaky clean cult, right?
It's squeaky clean. Yeah, squeaky clean. But there's a lot of value in speaking to someone like David. I feel like, and obviously chat, when I'm going at you, I am going at you, but because I feel like going at you, but it's just critical thinking. It's critical thinking. Yeah, like it's Xbox. Like we're big Xbox fans. I want Xbox to do well, but I also want Xbox to earn its stripes. So, like, what do I do? Like, what do you want? Do you want like a just constant sucking off Xbox and just kind of damage controlling?
Well, it's not even that. Like on this show, even like I think twice tonight, I said something because I'm convicted, like, I know this is how it works. And David's like, no, it's not. Or you're like, no, that's not how it goes. And I'm like, oh. And then I chalk it up to next time I make a video, I won't say something that I thought was right. The chat's amazing, though. I was watching the chat.
The chat's is lovely.
You do have to, like, when politics come up, they get like, and I get a little. Yeah.
But this is the thing that annoyed me. Like, you're talking about politics. We weren't even talking about the specifics of it. We were talking about how partisan it is, that the moment you mention one name, the others get rallied. But the chat did the exact same thing I was talking about. Like, and that's, I think, almost an American thing. Like, I'm not sure. I don't know the answer. But it's like the moment you mention, like here in the UK, we diss the monarchy so bad. We diss the politicians all the time, no matter Labour, Conservative. Very rarely we be like, oh, right, you don't diss the Conservatives. So I find that like the moment me and Notion, I mentioned Trump, always like, no politics. I'm like, bro, why are you scared to talk about it? Like, these people run your country. You should hold them accountable, both sides. But it's different thoughts and mentalities and talking that goes into gaming. Like, okay, fine. Like, you used to get it all the time. Well, you still get it all the time from being the Xbox guy. Yeah, who likes console war. Yeah, good. Console war because it's fun.
Some guy said yesterday that Colt needs to be put on the FBI watch list because he incites violence.
If I wish that someone said that about me, I'd love that, because it just goes to show what you incite violence. If you're inciting violence by saying Xbox is better, what does that say about the person that's become violent because you've said that? That means that guy's mentally fully.
Oh,
I
man,
didn't even
love
know
that.
I had that.
I love that. I love that.
So yeah, like it's just critical discourse. Like, I'm not the arbiter in deciding what's critical discourse. Yeah, I have my thoughts and my views are my own, but this is what XNC is about. It's always been about this. It's just keeping it raw.
You've noticed how much I'm able to. It's easier for me to talk about the things that I don't like about Xbox. Talk about the things I do like about PlayStation, because when I'm crafting a video, like I'm building something and I have like the stuff thing I need to say, but it comes out on the show, and it's really why it's good to have a voice. But there's people in the chat, obviously, and when I point over here, I'm looking down at the chat on my huge TV. I love the disagreement. I love the, hey, no, it's really this way. Like, it's really good. And we don't try to make people feel uncomfortable. And when we talk about Halo, we make them uncomfortable. And I know how you feel. Like,
bro,
stay with me for a minute here, chat. Like, anybody, raise your hand. Put a raise a hand emoji in the chat if you're really into a sports team, right? There's a sports team: soccer, football, baseball, basketball, or whatever, or rugby, or Australian rules, right? There's a team that you really love, and when somebody else talks about my team smoked your team, like a little thing goes off in your head, we're like, that vein goes across your head, right? We can't help it. And when I'm talking about Gotham Knights, I know the world is saying the game sucks, and I'm sitting here playing it like, dang, this game's really fun. I'm talking to Zocker. I'm like, we're having so much fun with this game. How did they get it so wrong? And then you think, Gaz, do I have really bad taste?
Yes. Like Grounded. No, just kidding. Yeah, no, honestly, it's the same thing.
Hi,
and
Sean.
people say that. Sup, Sean Labrie, I see you, chat. But it's just like, I did like the Modern Warfare 2 campaign. What are you talking about? I thought it was weird as well with the Taliban and cartel working together in Russia. It made it absolutely no sense. I do think there's a different discussion there about how this whole narrative, like, let me make a game and make it about the Middle East. How would you like that? Like, would that be allowed? Would that be frowned? I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be allowed if the forces at play would allow that. But there's a different conversation to be had. Do you cry when India beats Pakistan? Yes, I do. My tears have dried now. Yeah, I'm for Pakistan. Of course, I want India to suffer on cricket. Are you joking? That's worse than Xbox, PlayStation. Come on, man. But yeah, no. Critical discourse. I'm glad everyone in the chat. Yeah, look, sorry for the language, but it was great. I loved the chat. It was so deep. I just being honest. Like, it's hard. Like, there's so many people in the space who will give you the nice answer. The journalistic company friendly, don't call them out. And I want to name names all the time. These the little crap podcasts who will talk crap about us, all these shock jockeys, but they don't hold a candle because they don't have the balls to have that conversation because they're always pandering to the companies that they're constantly defending. And this is the thing. I want to defend you as a friend, Colt. You have consistently had me on here, and you have had David Jaffe on. You've talked, like, I'm not an easy person to bring on a show where, Xbox may have eyes on you, but you're not bought or paid by Microsoft.
I told you I don't care. Yeah,
I don't, but this is why I get defensive over when someone tries to call you. I'd be like, why, Gaz, why you always defending Colt? It's like, he's my friend, so that's what friends do. You defend others. 2, when you're wrong, yeah, Colt likes to swim the source. I'm tear up the be nice, like the console wars, treat it like a sport. Forget the corporations. There's still corporations, man. Write to the CMA. Huggy, I know you wrote to the CMA. What the I am not writing to the CMA.
I would say it's not that big of a deal, the console wars. I just never make it personal. Somebody, I made a joke today about we didn't even talk about it. It was on the topic list. Fallout 4 in 2023 is getting a next-gen update. So they're boosting frame rate, resolution. They're fixing some bugs that are still lingering. They're doing content creator mod support. So, like, it's getting... I don't know why, but they're giving it a treatment, and it's pretty cool, and it's a free update. And I said, this is how you do a remaster. And obviously, I would think it was pretty obvious. What I mean is, they're kind of remastering the game. Many games over the past several years have gotten the same treatment, have been called Definitive Edition or a remaster, and they're put on the marketplace. But I had somebody call me, you're an effing idiot for thinking it's a remaster. I'm like, how did you not get the reference? Like, we've been dealing with this, especially this generation, for 2 years, where PlayStation has been charging for some of this actual treatment. And that's what I'm saying. My point is, there is a console war, yes, and you can swim in the sauce, but when you start calling someone a name, calling them a clown, calling them a blankety blank idiot or a moron or even worse, it's like, holy crap, bro, step back a minute. Who has said it? Eat a Snickers bar, relax. It's cool. Yeah. It's totally cool. Yeah, and most of the jokes are me saying something to Gaz or J-Rock or Tim Dog or Dealer or whatever, because it's in fun amongst friends in a public forum.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, it's human nature. Sometimes you'll butt heads. You'll carry on. And it's just human discourse as well. Sometimes it can spill over. But remember, it's for entertainment as well. That's the thing I didn't like about Paris gatekeeping. Oh, don't do this, because I'm like, you don't control discourse. Don't do that, because we'll rally against you for doing that. And obviously we had that conversation. Really nice guy. But I don't like that. I just don't like someone telling me how to behave. But that's the horses for courses. Huggy, thank you so much for the $10 super chat, because Gaz, the issue, the political discourse in the US is devolved into complying with the left or be destroyed, or all right, I guess. People don't want to deal with it anymore. You did mention the right there. I thought you were balanced there. You just said left. Comply with the left or right or be destroyed. People don't want to deal with it anymore. It's easy to just not go there, sadly. Yes, in America, I've noticed that. I've noticed that the country is split, and I've been there a few times, and I feel like I've had that discourse. I've been in America.
But I could also go my whole life not giving a flying crap and just burying my head in the sand and just wondering when the next game comes out. Cerebral Assassin says, "You're the man, Colt. Good to see my girl Gaz on." Gaz, you were looking sassy and sassy today. I love it.
Oh, it was David
People are
Jaffe
loving
was
the
on, like,
beanie, bro. You're looking good.
Oh, were they?
I wish I
cold.
could get my beanie. It's in the whole other room. Sleeping Vistas, well, Australian 5 says, oh, dang it. He missed David Jaffe's exit, but he says, Jaffe, do you think developers at Naughty Dog and Sony Santa Monica will be allowed to do small passion projects like Grounded or Pentiment?
That's a very good question, actually. That's a very good question, because as much as that's exactly it. That's exactly the answer. Like, that's a very good question. I almost wish we asked that while David Jaffe was there, because that would be quite interesting to hear his answer. Because I have a feeling he would say, probably not. Probably not. Because while Sony are really good at having what we were espousing that PlayStation are really good at not micromanaging, but having a creative manager to making sure everything is okay. PlayStation also, I think, are relentless in the kind of quality that they want and the kind of games they accept. Remember Days Gone? And because that's what David Jaffe had John Garvin off Days Gone on. And John Garvin is vexed. Good game, but it didn't get a sequel, and John Garvin, the creator behind it, is absolutely vexed. The guy Siphon Filter under his belt, he was vexed because, like, the game critically didn't do well. Sony care about Metacritic scores. They look at Metacritic scores. Shu Yoshida posts Metacritic scores when they're good, and they assess it on that, and they wouldn't give the game a second chance. So that's a great question and a point towards Xbox, where they will allow Ninja Theory to have Bleeding Edge to be released. Or, not a great game. Or it was a passion project. It was about one guy's passion. Grounded was a passion project. Great.
So good.
And exactly, look what happened. Pentiment, I make fun of it because in the grand scheme of AAA games, but as a story game like Disco Elysium type, whatever, could be an incredible game. Might actually go in the 90 metas. That's the kind of game it is. But this is the problem of Sony, that Xbox does allow. One of the benefits of Xbox is, you could argue, lacks management. I wouldn't call it lax, is not the right word, but perhaps lacks management as well, is that you allow some creativity to thrive. The negative of that is, by not having a tight handle on things, you'll have mismanagement. I do think initiative initially was 100% was a mismanagement. How much did I get in the net for that? You think that you'd hire the top talent and then they leave? That's a failure. Now, obviously, they can reconcile that. Crystal Dynamics, great. This outfit, Perfect Dark, could be great. But the initial trip, remember, you called it quadruple A studio. Why? Because of the talent. The talent that has now, most of it has left. You see the list of people who have left, including senior designers, the senior people that were in the video. That's a failure. Microsoft needs to fix that shit. I just want to sit down with Phil Spencer and have this chat, or, I mean, if they will, I'm like, are you doing that? Like, because there seems to be a problem there, Phil. Like, have a real chat, not this fake, like, hey, we're doing that. I want to sit down behind closed doors, sign an NDA and say, look, I want a man-to-man. Like, just let's keep a man-to-man or whatever, man-to-woman, whoever the head is. Just tell us. Like, just talk to me. It's not going to leave this room, so I know. What is it? How are you handling your shit there? Because, you know, you better say, Gaz, who the hell are you? You're a pundit on YouTube. You don't really know much. What the flip? Why would they even sit with you? Well, even if I am that guy, I could have told them when they were Xbox One was launching with their marketing. I'm like, what the flip is this? Cancel it. Don't release this. TV. This is your E3 show. Sure. Cancel it. I mean, they made a whole fundamental error. Remember, these are still people, human beings in charge of this. And that's what I like about Xbox. There's a human element there, but they fail miserably. But yeah, I'm sorry, I just ranted on and on.
See, I know. Who was it? Dr. Afra says, Gaz, breathe.
Sorry. Zorka says they don't have to explain themselves to anyone, bro, unless people talk with their wallets. Simple as that. Listen, Zorka, I'm not saying they have to explain it. I said I want them to explain to me. I'd like to know what it is. I'm not saying they're literally. Zorka is literally just money. All he cares about is money. Shut the up, Zorka. Anyway, but genuinely, I just want to know because I'm intrigued. I don't know, but yeah, he likes Gotham Knights, and he paid money for that. I don't know why. And I will play that. I will play it. But you know, look. This is the Xbox story. It will always be like this. Xbox always has ups and downs. This is what makes it interesting. It's frustrating as an Xbox when you have certified wins like the hardware and it doesn't pan out. That should have been a certified win, but it wasn't. It didn't turn out. DVR still broken for 2 years. Xbox was known for a bit, the social functionality and sharing clips failed. Like it's like fix it. What's taking so long?
Somebody in the chat said like an hour ago when we were talking about the DVR said, "I don't play the DVR, Gaz," and I said. That's a different team. That's the hardware team. That hardware team doesn't make games. Xbox Studios and Global Publishing make games. Like I hate it when people say, "Who cares about the game DVR? Who cares about this or that? I want the games." It's like you do realize that they're teams that are dedicated to improving the quality of life on the console, and they are not that does not interfere with the games.
Absolutely. The argument was brought up on the DVR was on the point of their management of hardware. We've had Jason Ronald was very quick to come onto all these shows, RDX, your show, everywhere. And they talked and made promises. Hold them to that. Zorka says they don't owe anyone explanation. The money talks. Well, how do you quantify how much money will you put? Is that what he was saying? That
Xbox doesn't need to explain why they're behind on... I mean, this is a whole video that I...
Yeah, exactly. Well, you just like why accountability? Like what we core gamers talk about all the time. They come here when they want to propagate their messaging when it suits them. I'm sorry, but they do that. So why shouldn't we be entitled to some discourse the other way? Because the money dictates it? No. Like my attitude is you like Prime Minister's question time. You come on to the show. Don't expect pre-canned questions. Well, actually, Prime Minister's question time here in the UK does have pre-canned question. Bad analogy. But don't just come on here to expect that. If you want us to respect the free-flowing discourse, and the same thing. My Sony, they don't even come on shows. So that's a whole different ball game.
Well, I mean, Sean Layden after he left,
Sean Layden on Twitter, maybe. And Sean Layden, like, he's liked and like some of my tweets and stuff. I see him. I know he's there, sat like watching me eagle-eyed, but defending PlayStation constantly. I see him. That's fine. You work for them. I don't know. I like this industry, man. I can talk about it forever, man. Even if it's 4 a.m., I can talk about this.
That's what I wanted to say when we were talking about tribalism. Like, if you're here watching the show, we never usually run over 2 hours, but you're here because video games are your favorite. They're one of your favorite hobbies. Maybe it is your favorite. For me, I think maybe it is. I do a lot of different things. We all do different things. I've got
gaming
guitars,
is my number
right?
one.
It is my number. It's the thing that I was going to say during the show when Jaffe was here. How many times have you talked to me on the phone and I'm like this? Because Xbox like faltered on something or they didn't deliver, and you're like, Cole, what's the deal? Like it's not your fault. You didn't do this. I'm like, yeah, but I run a show, I make videos, and what am I going to do now? Because I like to be excited about stuff. And this week they've made me not excited. And you have to like kind of straight, like grab me by the shirt. Cole, get a hold of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. No, but Xbox also.
Jump on, Zocker. Jump on. You'll just be called Jaffe. I probably wouldn't change. Well, just jump on, Zocker. I don't know if he has access. Let me give him a
camera as well. You Scott Thanos. But yeah, no. Look, it is passionate. It is all about passion, and that's what we will always be punters. You may not agree with us. But at least
I'm sending you a DM on Twitter, Soccer. Yeah. RDX Son of Fett said that I want to read it word for word. Let me grab it real quick. He said, on my day, Xbox Series X died tonight.
I don't have a camera.
Okay, you don't need a camera.
I knew it.
Let me switch and make sure that people can hear you here as I do it on the fly. Say something again real quick, Soccer.
Oh, hello.
Okay, there you go. Okay, in just a few seconds, you'll see it as it catches up.
Gaz. That's all I'm coming in for, because he's saying, I don't think Gaz understands what I'm saying.
I don't think
about the money talks. Like, that's the way. Like, you're saying that you want Xbox to do better, but again, the only time that they listen is with money. David Jaffe just literally talked about a game that people complained about. Like, that's what I'm saying. Is the only thing. The DVR is you hit them where the money hurts, man. Like the DVR doesn't make them any money. How are you gonna hurt? Again, not use the box. That's how. Like, once people start going away for certain things, the DVR, expect better. The DVR is just a part of it, Gaz. The DVR is just software, right? That's the whole point. Everything within Xbox needs to be better.
So the money talks, so don't use it. Well, I mean, how does that...
Yes.
It's so dumb. You literally go out and say to them, fix the shit. Don't just say, don't use the DVR.
And every single
People
and the
will
biggest
stop using
But they
the
already,
DVR.
they already have 15 million or 20 million people that bought the Series X and S already, and they're buying them so much they can't stop. Like I don't think boycotting the console is even in the cards at this point over DVR and the tools. But I'm with Zocker. I think we should be demanding more. But the problem is 80 to 90% of the console consumer market doesn't give a flying crap about 1440p or 4K or unfortunately 60 FPS. This sucks.
60 frames? But you guys care. We all care. Should
Of course
we stop
we
asking
care.
about it?
Chris goes,
No, it's not about asking
fight.
about it. It's the point is that everybody
Yeah.
has like some of the biggest Xbox podcasts, aka this podcast, RDX,
RDX.
and freaking Xbox 2 with Rand. A bunch of people that we know have literally talked about this for 2.5 years and nothing. So asking for shit doesn't mean anything. You can ask for anything, but it doesn't mean fucking fuck all to them at all. Sorry for cussing, Colt. It doesn't mean anything to them, like at all. Like that's the whole point. Like they're not going to listen to that shit because obviously they're not listening, Gaz. So are you going to just keep sitting there and asking, or are you going to do something about it?
No, asking is doing something about it. What is your proposal?
So what's the
refund
I
my
literally just said.
Are you going to give me my Xbox back?
Am I going
I'm going to stop playing games? Like
No, you play games. You play. I'm sorry. Is Xbox the only place you can play games?
So you say give up my Xbox, go on my PlayStation.
No, not give up your Xbox, but you could tell that there is a shift, bro. Like you could tell that people are getting sick of shit not working. Like that's the whole point.
I mean, the
like,
Xbox One didn't work for
and
quite
the
a while either.
The DVR is just like us as content creators. Like we're just like seriously, man. Like we can't even record anything. Like this is getting like kind of
no. Wait a minute.
Well, let's talk about.
You can record. I want to make it
just
perfectly
comes out
clear.
in black and white.
The game DVR works almost all the time as long as I'm recording to the internal. Sometimes I get some corrupted video files when I record to a thumb drive. But the problem is I record a clip and I go to share it on Twitter. It's like, we can't share this right now. I go to trim it. We can't trim this right now. I go to play it. It's like buffering. When I record a clip, the sound goes... Hold on,
When I share a clip, my sound is coming late. Every clip I've shared on Xbox TV now, go on my Twitter.
Or it doesn't even work in Premiere Pro. It just comes in with audio, and then the video's not there. So you're just like, cool, like that's great. People want to listen to my gameplay. Sounds awesome. So like that's little things like that, but it's not even that, man. That's just like the whole point is that is so stupid that DVR is such a minute irritating thing that it's a bigger problem, guys. I'm talking about the 30 FPS, the way the Xbox is being developed on everything, the way Colt just ate that thing with his fork. Everything about it is needs to be better.
Yes.
Is that mango? What is that?
What is that? What is that?
Sweet potatoes. Go ahead.
Oh,
shit.
By the way, I got your name on the screen, Zocker. Look at that.
I
magic.
appreciate you.
It's magic.
well done.
Like, I'm just saying, like you got to admit, guys, there is a shift, and having these things not be like just having 30 FPS, everything. Like it's not just the shift, but it is a shift towards a lot of things that people are playing. Like I know a lot of people that are hardcore Xbox fans that are annoyed that shit's the way it is, and it is like it's hard to keep killing the dead horse.
So what
are they doing? That everybody, like we always say every single time, and what people on RDX like D-Batch and all my homies that I know that I yell at them on RDX for. Well, when they start dropping these games next year, I'm fucking tired of next year. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I'm tired
of it.
Are you saying the same thing I am? You're saying the same thing. But
so me and you agree. I don't get.
Where's the shift? What is the shift?
Stop spending your money on something that's not giving you what you're not getting.
Let me say for the chat, the DVR problem is on the Series X, on the top end, the 4K. You record it at 1080p, it's fine. The Xbox Series S, the Xbox One, the Xbox One X, the Xbox One S, all that DVR is fine. It's the top level one where I don't know what happened when they ported it up, but it has its issues, and it needs to upload to the cloud first, and it needs to sit, or you have to restart the console to get the DVR to share to Twitter. Maybe that's not a big deal, but I'll tell you one thing that Randolph Thor told me, they're never going to fix it. And I said, why? Yeah, it's on the Reese's Cold Hungry. I'm starving. They're not going to fix the DVR. I mean, maybe they will. I think they're going to eventually get to it, but it is not a priority at all because they've seen the metrics. Hardly anyone uses it, and you just have to put your time and effort where the money is. And I think that really sucks.
When I mentioned the DVR,
feature of the console.
I'm saying, look at the power. I'm talking about the power of these consoles. The 1212 flop machine And when I talk about DVR, I'm saying, look, they can't even sort out their DVR, which is, in my opinion, disgraceful after 2 years. What hope are they actually talking? Someone in chat was like, oh, it's the parity clause. Absolute nonsense. I'm sorry, I will say absolute nonsense that Sony are holding back. It's on Microsoft in this tool. Why is it not using FSR? Why? Do you think Microsoft would not come out in this CMA regulations if they're holding back our power because they won't allow us to leverage the power of it? No, they would have said it. And don't even try and claim that clause is technical parity on their CMA submissions. It is Xbox's doing that they cannot get the tools ready. The tools thing is an embarrassment. It shouldn't be for us content creators to espouse, well, actually, it's forgiven because they're just tools are maturing. It's 2 years now. 2 years now. Xbox should be leaving PlayStation in the dust. Absolutely. The power difference on raw spec hardware is there, but it's not happening.
I mean, they're according to Digital Foundry, they've won the majority of this generation's face-offs.
Are they winning as big as the divide as you thought it was?
They should be winning 15 to 30%. But that's another thing I'm going to cover in the video, because they're basically doing is plug and play raw hardware, and it's not getting it done. Because the PS5 dev kit, like Zocker's talked about, is way easier to use. That's all right. Is that the best way to say it?
Yeah, I mean, it's far better. It's far. Jason Ronald's a hardware engineer. Like, he did his job. He did his job. It's done. He did the hardware. He's like, cool.
No, it's not.
No. Now it's the software engineers. Like, that's the point. The software is supposed to work with the hardware engineers and get it going. Like, who knows? That's what I'm trying to find. Who are those motherfuckers? Where are those people at? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I was like, why isn't this shit working? And to be honest, like, even Sony-wise, like, what's happening? But then you look at God of War and what it's going to run at and all of the bells and whistles, and that's the problem. That's where it is. That's where this crux comes in, because the teams that take advantage of this hardware the most are first party. So we're not seeing that this year at all. Last year, Forza Horizon 5 looked insane on the Series X, right? It looked insane. So it looked beautiful. Because you're too sexy to not have it on.
No, I will say that Forza Motorsport looks like it was starting to use that tech.
And it's going to always do that. We always know Turn 10's going to do it. I'm not worried about that. It's a goddamn race simulator. Fine. But I want to see it in big games. I want to see it across the board. And I want to see it with third party, because that's who they needed to show it to, is this third party. Like, Starfield's going to be 30, dude. Like, at this point, like, even Todd Howard has talked about it. Like, I like 30 frames. And I'm like, and he said it like twice. Yeah, and I'm like, what's going on?
Ryan
so now
McCaffrey,
I'm like,
but I don't think there's any justification of why that game would run at 30.
And Ryan McCaffrey has a very good relationship with Bethesda and Todd Howard. Like, he interviews them consistently. So if he's saying shit and they're saying shit, to me, it's like they're trying to get people prepared for it. That's in my head.
I agree with you. That's why I asked you Starfield, because I think that will be 30 as well. And Fonzarelli, shout out to him, made a video, and he's concerned about, good video about, and explain and show the comparison for those who don't understand. For some reason, their eyes don't work. The difference between 30 and 60. I think that's going to be.
And so my question to you guys is, how do you demand better for something that you've already given their money to?
What do you mean by voicing my concern?
I know, but we voiced it. That's what I'm trying to say. Even the DVR, we voiced it for 2 years and nothing's happened. What's the next step? That's what I'm trying to ask you. Like, what is that next step to demand it?
I don't know. Go to the other. Well, there's no other platform unless PC, but that's still their platform. What is that?
Exactly. Exactly. The only thing you can do.
Voice your opinion.
The other thing you can do is go to PC and use Steam, because they're not making money off of that. It's not like you have Windows, fine, but they're not making money off of Steam. So that's the only thing you can do. That's the only thing you can do.
So instead of just saying Todd Howard says Starfield is going to be 30 frames because that's what he likes with their games, you have to look at it
value in the whole
logistically and realistically. Like, Creation Engine Bethesda's never put out a game on console that runs at 60 frames, but then again, hardly anybody's games ran at 60 frames in the past. So you can't have it both ways. It doesn't look next gen, it's on an old engine, but then again, a lot of people are saying it's too advanced to run at 60 frames. That makes absolutely no sense. Think logistically about what you're saying, that Starfield doesn't look next gen, it's not that demanding, the engine's old. These are all things that scream they should be able to put the game at whatever they want, because it's not blowing your GPU and CPU in half Look at Starfield. Like, is it really going to destroy PCs or an Xbox Series X where it can't run on a 3.6 gigahertz processor with frame calls from a huge, massive 12 teraflop GPU and get 60 frames per second? Is that really the way that all of these experts are not experts, but loud people are saying that? I just don't believe Starfield is going to run at 30 on a Series X.
So I hope somebody in the chat saying Starfield's a cross-gen game. It's not. It's not. It's a Series X. It's a next-gen game only. And others are saying that developers are aiming for PS5 first. No,
it's still been built through the cross-generation like everything else.
The developers that are out there, 5 different publishers, 5 different developers. I said this on RDX. If somebody's talking about the Series S, that from 5 different publishers and developers, something's up there. And that's what developers are aiming for. They're aiming for the Series S. They're not aiming for the Series X. That is because they need to make every game next gen needs to run on the Series S. So that's what they're aiming for. And that's why
the Series S is holding things back.
It's not about holding back. It's giving developers way too much development time, and they don't have enough time and money to sit there and optimize everything.
So Series S is an anchor?
They need to get that. It could be an anchor, and we've talked about this. The RAM on it can be a hard thing to go work around.
Hang on, Bobby Dazzle, high bit rate and 1440p. That you're talking about streaming visual footage on YouTube or watching video footage played back. Those things don't correlate. As far as what's going on with what we saw, and I said this with Gaz, what we saw with Starfield was, I'll bet you anything that Todd Howard said, I want everything. Okay, let me say it the way that people may not like, but this is what I think happened. They know that Starfield's not the most beautiful game, but it's huge and expansive. And Todd Howard probably said, I need that game to look as sharp and as amazing as it can look. Find the prettiest area. I need the greatest shots that show off how great we can make the world look in this old Creation Engine 2.0. And if that means running the presentation at 30 frames, let me see it. Oh, that kind of looks like the Interstellar movie. That's how I want to show the game. I don't want it shown at a low resolution with jaggedy edges and aliasing going on at 60 frames. Todd Howard made the choice. I'll bet you anything. I want that game at highest fidelity. I don't care if it runs at 30. It's going to look like a movie, and I think it was the wrong decision. I think it'll run at 60. Gaz, what do you think about that?
So. I hope you're right. I hope it does run at 60. But I will also say this: Hellblade 2. They released a video, Ninja Theory, about the cinematic influences on how they devised really clever tech. And all of that suggests to me that if you're going to make a cinematic-based game, and they're taking cinematic tech and tropes and bokeh effects and a lot there, how do you simulate that in a gaming engine? Then they came up with really good solutions. That to me suggests that their ideal baseline or ideal experience, the way to experience Hellblade according to them, is 30 frames per second. If they give you an option to play 60, fine. But
which I think they will.
Which I think they will as well.
Because they did that with the other game. Yeah.
But if they say that we will give you the option, yeah, exactly. They gave it with the other game, but obviously this one is way more cinematic. That was a more traditional gaming kind of fare. This one is way more cinematic. And they looked at Blade Runner, Zucker, as one of the...
Blade Runner 2049 or whatever. That's a fucking amazing movie.
Okay, well, at least you have some taste. But that movie, they looked at that, and then if they say to... I will... It's going to sound silly, but... If they're saying that that's the way to experience the game, I will play that game with that cinematic.
By the way, I heard your little talk earlier about the QTEs of Spider-Man and saying how it's terrible and that you're just pressing buttons in QTE. And then you started sucking off Ghost of Tsushima with their little standoff where you literally just press a button at the right time.
That's why I brought that comparison
I know you did because you were trying to cover your ass, but I see you fraud. I'm here and I'm listening.
That's the whole
I'm
point.
on to you. Nope, don't get nope. You like it, QTE lover. QTE lover.
If the game can't, it's not. In fact, well, yeah. I mean, it's strictly the first one. It's not actually a QTE. You're holding triangle and you're visually looking at when they're about to strike. There's no button prompt.
Yeah. It's visually looking, and then you visually look at the button and you let go.
There's no button. You don't look at any button. You just look at the guy attacking you like a normal video game, non-QTE, and you go. But yeah, the 30 FPS or 24 actually, Carolina Gamer. is more cinematic in cinema. But like, what generally, look, next year is going to be the answer. All I'm saying is this: what I don't
fucking A.
So much hypocrisy. You can't even follow the conversation, you piece of. The whole point was I'm the one who brought it up to tell you the difference, like where it is.
Somebody, Mr. Orange, said that no, that's wrong. Aaron Greenberg said they aim for Series X and then go down and downscale to Series S. He's talking about first party. I'm talking about every developer. Aaron Greenberg cannot tell what third party developers and other publishers do in their development. And what he's saying, and Aaron Greenberg also said that 4K 60 is going to be the standard, and yet here we are.
Forza will be 60 frames.
No, he didn't say 4K 60, did he? He said that.
He said 60 FPS, 60 frames.
Yeah, 60 FPS.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what chat is saying. But
they're calling you a fraud, and I'm here for it.
I think it's because you're here. But next year, I don't want to see any excuses. Yeah. I remember when Paris thought he was being called a fraud, he got so defensive over it.
And it was me. I remember I was here, and they were like, he's like, no, I think they're talking to Zalker, and he's like, he got like really up in his feelings. I was like, don't take it so personal, man. It's okay to be a fraud.
That's what he does. He likes taking things personal. But really, next year, what I don't want to see, chat, is excuses. If Starfield got delay and it got it doesn't get 60 or 30, then what? What's gonna happen? Like, are you guys gonna call it out? Because console gamers all of a sudden now have suddenly got this massive revelation, and they won't tolerate anything other than 60. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to see it. Like, Plague's Tale Requiem is amazing looking on console, but in the 120 hertz VRR mode, it runs at 30 to 40, mostly at 40 until you move the camera. And then it chugs down to 30. I mean, that's the hardest thing to do, is to turn a camera and render the entire world that's around you. And this is not something we want to see. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's like, I'm not playing this game or that game on console because it doesn't run at 60. I'm just going to wait. I'll wait and wait for a patch. There's no way we've there's no way we've hit the ceiling of these consoles. And that's what I want to cover in this video. There's so much in here, and none of the efficiency features are being used. So I think we have a lot to look forward to. Zocker is, of course, Zocker plays a lot on PC, guys. You know this from him on in his videos when he talks about on RDX podcast. And he's got a great PC, but he kind of sees, why aren't they using all these things that they touted? And David Jaffe said they're just marketing words, but they're not just marketing words.
It was promises, man. Like, I have a Steam Deck also that I play a shit ton on, and I can turn FSR on every single game. Just turn it on automatically. It's like, okay, well, shit. You worked with AMD. Like, what's going on? Like, why can't that happen?
Parity clause, Zoka. PlayStation.
No. I'm not talking about like resolution. I'm not talking about parity in that. I'm talking about just that feature, FSR. Why can't I do that? Like, why can't I do that?
Miscellaneous, aka Riskit, thinks that as the parity clause is the reason why the FSR is not implemented on Xbox.
No, it's not. It's because Steam out fucking did them and ran circles around them. Because Steam launched basically a console-like handheld and has that shit ready to go through Proton. And that's the problem right there. Is that it needs to be fucking utilized. It's not parity clause. It's not none of that. Do I think there's some weird shit with parity, like Deathloop? Yes, that's some weird shit. Like, for Deathloop not to run better, like, that's some weird stuff. That's something that Riskit has some. It holds water, but I don't know, man. Like, to me, like, I'm not saying that it's true. I'm saying that there is something to it.
I'm gonna answer Biddy Boo Gaming. I'm going to answer Biddy Boo Gaming. I don't think developers are being lazy. They have a lot of work to do. But when you're... But, like, we can say the PC thing, right? There's minimum specs and there's recommended specs. That's the developer saying, look, this is a lease of the hardware to get this game running where we feel it's acceptable to play our game and actually see our vision. Then we have recommended specs where, like, if you want to see it the way we are hoping you'd see it, here's the recommended specs. The beauty of PC is you just build the game, and like Zocker said, you go in and you have 15 to 20 things that you can turn off or turn down or turn up. On console, you almost never have that. We're lucky in the past 3 to 4 years to be able to go in and toggle a couple things. Turn off motion blur. Turn on performance mode or quality mode. That's basically what you get on console. The problem is when they're not being lazy. They have to develop for a wide range of PC configurations. So they just target certain settings. And then the user does it themselves. The user can choose, like Zocker, he can put the Steam Deck at 720p and no one has to know. because the screen does 800p or whatever, right? But on console, they have to ship the game, and that's the way it looks. It gets shown off that way, it gets marketed, it gets analyzed, and it could be a black eye. But the Series S being lower spec, they don't just have to match that. They don't have to meet those specifications. They have to build a specific version of that game to run on Series S. Then they have to turn and get the dev kit to run the specific setting that they build for Series X. Then they have to turn around again and do it for the PS5. Heaven forbid they support the Nintendo Switch. That thing's a potato in your hand. But this is just the way it is. I do not think developers are being lazy. Here's what they do. They spend 5 years building a video game, and then they spend the last 3 months certifying and porting onto the platforms.
It's literally probably the last, I think it's the last 9 to 10 months is what people say. That's when the game gets built, and they're optimizing it for the last year, right? That's what they're doing. And that's why always what you're saying, going from Xbox to the Series S to PlayStation 5 to PC, that's why first party always pushes it the furthest, because they have to concentrate on just PlayStation. They have to concentrate on just
And if you
Xbox.
think a developer is going to dedicate their lives and their energy and all of their soul and blood into making the Series S shine, you're not going to see it. They're not even seeing the PS5 shine in multi-platform.
And then that is on Microsoft, and it exactly is. Do you remember back in 2016 where people were struggling getting stuff to work on the Xbox One X, 2015, and literally Xbox talked about having their ninja team that went to developers to help them with little roadblocks?
The special
where the fuck
team,
did that team go? Did they ninja themselves out of the industry? What's going on? Are they still there? Help, that is the problem, and we're gonna see it because it's not just them, dude. Sony still has some features that they're not working on, but Sony is actually bringing out little stuff. They fixed their DVR. They brought out what was it, a VSR, FSR, whatever. They brought out a couple things that you're kind of okay, well, shit.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. I have look, whatever they've elected to carry on with their dev language or whatever, their tools, fine. But Microsoft's choice to do whatever it's doing and elect these new tools, it's not playing off. Yeah, fine, we haven't had exclusive, luck for Xbox for the last 2 years. But next year, there cannot be any excuses. That's the attitude everyone should have. What can you do, say, Zorka's vote with your wallet, is what I'm trying to make people in chat do. Don't be accepting of excuses. You won't accept it. I know you won't, because you don't tolerate that. You've got a beast PC as well. You will go there.
I own every single fucking thing, dude. I own every. I play on everything. I play on PlayStation 5. I was debating. I've talked to Hargeet. I've talked to a bunch of friends. I was debating on waiting for Ragnarok to just come to PC. And I'm I'll just maybe wait. But now I'm I can't. I beat God of War on the Steam Deck, the first one, the PS2. Then I started playing the 2018 one on my Steam Deck and my PC, and I'm God, I can't wait. So I'm gonna play it on the PS5. I have my Series X where I'm playing a bunch of games on there. I'm playing Little Nightmares. I'm playing Dante's Inferno. All these games on there that I've installed, and I've beaten pretty much almost every single goddamn Assassin's Creed. And then I have my PC where I play everywhere. So if somebody pisses me off, I'm cool, dude, fuck off. You're not getting my money. I'm going over here now.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. And the one thing that I'm really happy about that Xbox is doing is that they are trying to get Activision Blizzard, because Blizzard is my favorite developer by far, always will be, never going to stop. And I love Blizzard. I still play Overwatch. I still play every single game that they release. Every single game, I have hundreds of hours into it. So I want them to make Blizzard better. That's my big thing. And so
I think
that's why I'm so excited for
if Xbox can get it. Yeah, I am excited for Xbox as well. And ABK will be good. It's not just capping for Xbox as a brand. Look, we saw the problems with Diablo. We saw the problems with Overwatch. Microsoft can fix that. If they get, this is why I want to get the basics right. Get their house in order with their own hardware, with their own first-party studios. Then when they take on a big weight, I mean, the ABK's team is the size of a city. So 10,000 staff. They need to get their act together. This is why there is a sense of trepidation in that Microsoft cannot manage what it has now, potentially. Then how will it fare when ABK is done, if it's ever done? So yeah, absolutely happy with that.
I think the generation hasn't even. I think the generation hasn't even started, and this will make some people mad. But even for PlayStation, mostly what they've put out is remasters and sequels of stuff, cross-gen and sequels, right?
So next year, that guy that leaked the next gen or the mid-gen refreshes in 2 years. Look at that! That guy that leaked it. That guy that leaked it. It has been right before. And he's been right before.
Let me read a couple supers.
I have to jump off though, because my father finally just came in. I'm at my parents' house. So I'm chilling. But I jumped in just to tell you guys that I love you guys, and you guys are my homies.
Thanks, Soccer. Hey, you and me, Gotham Knights later, right?
Yes, I've been. I literally listened to your entire podcast while doing open world shit. I love this game. Fuck the haters. I don't care. Yes, I'm playing on PC. It's fucking beautiful. People need to chill. The game is great and it's epic
like
and
the
it's
movie
so good.
Dune.
It's
and you know what? Because I'm in a good mood, Dune has good parts in it. Like when I fell asleep, it was a great napping mechanism.
Oh my gosh! All right, Zocker, get out of here. We'll talk tomorrow.
Shout out to Zocker.
Yeah, shout out to Zocker.
Later, chat.
All right, later. Let me read a couple supers. Gazimus Prime, Gazimus Maximus. RDX Son of Fett said his Xbox Series X, his day one Series X died tonight. I will write in the chat what happened to it, bro. That's past warranty and that sucks. Sorry, Mel. That sucks. Hargeet Chani says if you had to pick DVR or back compat FPS boost, which would you choose? It's part of some of Jason Ronald's team, but there's always trade-offs. No, you can do both. I mean, aren't there like two people that could work on that DVR? I don't know. What do I know? With a $10 super, thank you, buddy. He says, I had to factory reset my Xbox twice in the last 2 months in order to record anything. It also crashes my game when I'm playing or playing when exiting it 10% of the time. At 720p when he's recording, it still needs fixing. Gamer by Choice says, I've been playing games since the 80s, and I cannot tell the difference between 30 and 60 unless someone tells me. All right, this is an interesting thing, Gamer by Choice. Do me a favor. Go to your TV. You can do it now if you're still watching and listening. Go to your TV and make sure you do not have True Motion Plus on. And if you're watching a video that shows you the difference between 30 and 60, make sure that the YouTube video is set to run at 1080p 60 or higher. Because I've had so many people say, I watched this video and I couldn't tell the difference. I'm thinking either you have True Motion on, which will make everything look the same, even 30 frames, or you have it set at 30 where it looks like 30 and 30. So I don't know.
Or he's blind. No, I think it's maybe it could be an ocular issue but
I don't know. Is it an ocular thing? Because the frame rate, discerning a frame rate is not an eye thing. It's a brain thing.
Is it a brain thing? Okay, now your brain.
If you go into a video game and turn the camera,
yeah.
Sorry, I have to eat. I'm starving. If you turn the camera, it will look like this is 60. If you turn the camera at 30, it'll look like this.
Yeah, I mean, I find that weird that some people can't, but if they can't, they genuinely can't. That may be like sensory thing or whatnot. But don't join my team when you're playing PvP Halo when it's fixed. I'm just kidding. Guys, what time is it over there, boss? It is Sean Labrie, 4:30 a.m. I'm going to be awake in 4 hours for work. Yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I just don't want to sleep. 760 people still watching, man. That's crazy.
You guys are so great. You're so great. Fun. And I know some stuff gets a little dicey, and some of the topics that we talked about. You know what? I didn't. Let me say real quick, Gaz. Today, Jim Ryan, Sony or Kojima, I think it's Kojima, posted a picture of him with Jim Ryan. Like, Kojima's been like just dating everybody lately. You know, Jeff Keighley, he was with Phil on a date the other day, and now he's out, on the veranda with Jim Ryan this week.
What a slut.
And everybody's like,
Jim Ryan, you can see Jim Ryan's nipple like I can see mine here. Like, you could actually see his nipple through the shirt.
Yeah, Kojima's just, he's just loving having everybody at his beck and call. But we got to make a joke, right?
Okay.
So Death Stranding 2 maybe is what they're working on with Jim Ryan. With Phil.
I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this right now on Phil Spencer and Jim Ryan and Kojima. I'll tell you right now, chat. Phil Spencer, if you're watching this, I swear to God, if you've let this happen, this is what happens with Microsoft being good guys. We're gonna get the game on Xbox, the cloud-based experimental game, and Sony will get the better Kojima game. I'm worried about that. Because
I'm worried that the Kojima game with Phil Spencer is like a card game made to play on the cloud.
Yeah.
I don't really mean it, but you and I were talking today, making that joke. Because it's like Murphy's Law. Well, the worst thing that could happen. And I'm like, what if Phil's like, that's a great idea. It's a game where you connect lines across the internet and people download an email. It's going to be amazing. And then you build stuff in Microsoft Office. We can't wait.
Bro, if that happens, oh my god! And I could see it happening. Call me a pessimist or whatever. I could see it happening. When we Microsoft, they got Wolong Fallen Dynasty, and then what did Sony? What did PlayStation get from that Team Ninja? They got something else, something way better, and they got Project Eve, which is names whatever. That's Money High. But what did they get from Team Ninja and the people who made Bloodborne on the PlayStation?
It's not Neo. It's well, they have a Neo, don't they? And they have another. I can't remember the name of the game.
I forgot the name.
We talked about it here a couple of Kojima. It's called Strands.
Yeah, I just hope Xbox Rise of the Ronin, Huggy, shout out to you. Absolutely. Look, they got Huggy, shout out to him. Rise of the Ronin, like they got that, and like Xbox always get like that Rise of the Ronin. I'd rather have Rise of the Ronin than Wolong. Whatever.
Have you played Wolong's demo, bro?
No, I haven't.
Then you wouldn't say that. Wolong's pretty cool.
It's very Neo, isn't it? It's very Neo, though.
Yeah, but you can make a custom. I made like a Colteastwood with like the big forehead, and the pointy hair, and the big nose, and without the glasses because you couldn't have glasses back then. But it looks like a Colteastwood samurai, and it's cool, man. Chat, did you guys play the Wolong Dynasty demo while it was on Xbox? It was only on there for about 2 weeks. I think I showed like a couple what?
Chat.
Did I not say chat?
Zorka, no. I was talking to chat. I was like, chat. Colt and Zorka were bullying me for playing NBA 2K.
Oh, we were
bullying. Yeah, completely. Dealer showed me the ropes. I want to get into basketball. I think the school, the
and like, are you dribbling the ball and throwing it into the whole thing with the net and it's in the whatnot? I'm just kidding.
Shut up. Be grateful playing your crap sports. It's like an RPG. It's really cool, but I was actually nervous because I didn't want to lose to Chef Owens. Yeah, that's right. A guy in the story of the game. I remember his name, Chef Owens, because I care about. My palms were sweaty. Team arms, mom spaghetti. Because when I was playing that game, I was scared to lose, and I didn't know anything about basketball. I didn't know about the controls. The game is great. Shout out to Dilo for teaching me how to play and me forgetting everything.
He loves the game. He's spent pretty much all of his waking hours playing it. He loves it. He's singing its praises to me when we've been talking about how. It's amazing. But I mean, I played my baseball game all year too. But Wolong is the real deal. It's gonna be really cool. What's it like? Yeah. It's like an Elden Ring-ish. I've never played Neo, but yeah, they're saying in the chat it's very cool. But you missed out. They pulled the demo from Access. I had to install it. As far as I think, it wouldn't load up again, but. Yeah. Oh, what's up, One Bad Mother? Yeah, Happy Bomb. Shout out to Happy Bomb, Udana Kazada.
Shout out Happy Bomb.
Holding down the chat. Like, they've been doing a great job getting rid of the sex spots and getting rid of some of the foul language. And I always say, I don't say this enough, but the chat's amazing. Sometimes your comment will get hidden or removed, and if you want to use some strong language, just kind of skirt around it. Like, I always say, just use a different word or use a word that...
Yeah, a different rule applies to you in chat than us. That's right.
I mean, I talked to Jaffe and Gaz before the show, and I said, look, we try to run a clean show. And he said, I'll do my best. And Gaz's like, I won't. And so... but yeah, we did try to... Donnie left. Okay, but we did try to keep it palatable, I guess. I don't know. I saw somebody in the chat say... You shouldn't shelter your kids from language or they're going to be messed up in the future. I don't know.
That's a bit
go
weird.
Either way.
The kids will learn anyway. It's not like sheltering them is going to hurt them.
The guy doesn't have kids, yeah. I mean, my kids know all those words, and thankfully I've never heard them say them. They say them when I'm not around. I don't know. No, my kids are great.
Yeah, they are genuinely nice. I'll teach them swear words. But yeah, it's been a good show.
It's been really good. I think I covered everything except for Tim. PlayStation guys getting mad that Tim Dog and others are enjoying Persona 5 now that the best version is now on Xbox and Game Pass. And don't do that, please. Please don't do that. That's super
make
lame.
up your argument. PlayStation, Xbox guys don't even like JRPGs. They don't even play JRPGs. When they do play JRPGs, you're only playing it. Why weren't you playing it before? Well, make up your mind. Like when the figures come out and people are playing Persona with their marketing heavily, what are you going to do? Going to cry and change the metrics? And with regarding Tim Dog, console wars like me, absolutely. I found
more than you.
From the people. Yeah, more than me. But I did a quick search on Persona. I did a little bit of research on what this piece of was actually saying about Persona, because I like Persona. I played it on PlayStation, but I feel like it's better as a mobile game. And he said, you know what he said? In April 2017, I found your post, Tim Dog. Sent it to you in DMs. You still haven't used it. He said he wants to actually play that game. What is that? That's the Logitech, yeah?
That's the Logitech. I'll probably try that thing out on cloud. Because that's where Tim's playing it mostly. The funny thing was the whole problem was like, why are you playing it now? You're playing platforms instead of games. But you have to understand Tim Dog. He loves playing on the go. It's his favorite. It's where he gets most of his game time in. And guess what? You couldn't play Persona 5 on the cloud on his device, as far as I know. I don't think you could.
He did PlayStation Remote or something, but that's
I mean, just the access to cloud is like right there for Tim. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. The funny thing was they had this gotcha moment. Who cares about Twitter drama? But they had this gotcha moment where everyone was pasted in my replies about my tweets. Look, we got Tim. I'm like, how old are you guys? Tim was making fun of someone. Yeah. Tim was defending Persona 5 7 years ago, and they thought they had a gotcha moment on the same thing they did with me with Death Stranding. Colt's making fun of Death Stranding, and now he's playing it. It's like, no, I wasn't. I was making fun of a reviewer who said it was boring, when it was obviously really well loved. And people are dumb. People are
people are silly. Console Wars thing that people. Yeah, people. No, I don't. And people are really petty sometimes. But I thought that was a bad take. Like, okay, fine, maybe he does console war. He prefers Xbox. He fights He was fighting Xbox corner during the weak Xbox One era. I mean, he likes Xbox. Why are you sitting there looking? Oh, well, now you like it. It shows you're projecting your insecurity. That's another former PlayStation exclusive now being enjoyed by Xbox fans. So you say Xbox fans don't play JRPGs, but now you're getting salty when they do play the JRPGs for whatever reason. They're playing them, right? So just don't be such basic. Don't be so basic, or be basic. Then get ready to get rinsed. The same logic applies. Like I don't know, but Xbox sides as well. I'm seeing a lot of Xbox guys constantly damage controlling, constantly making excuses. I have no time for that. And the source will come for them as well. I'll just give me. I'd rather make it on PlayStation, man. But Xbox guys are annoying me as well. Hopefully next year things will change.
Lou Silver says Tim made fun of Persona and called it a weirdo game on Zaire's podcast. And that would be like 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, it is kind of a weirdo game. It's very strange.
Yeah, but also in 2017, he has a tweet saying, I use this game for list wars, but actually I want to really play it. So how do you counter that? Like, you guys lie way too much. When have I lied about anything? You're like, where have I said?
Wait, is he talking about us?
When have I lied about it? But he says, you guys lie way too much. Listen, man, when it comes to PlayStation content creators versus Xbox, they don't hold a candle to us. I've never lied. In live content, in video production or anything. That's why PlayStation guys come to us to see. So why maybe ask your PlayStation guys, get your standards up. Don't be lazy. Learn some Adobe Premiere Pro. Get some professionalism. Get some good guests. And invest in your thing. Because PlayStation guys, you guys suck. When it comes to your live shows, you suck.
Lou Silver, I'm going to blow your mind. Are you ready? I'm going to get close so you can hear this. I've never, ever lied one time about video game information or video games. Never, ever have I lied. Never have I ever, not even a microbial anything, have I ever lied about video games. Now, what I have done is claim something that I thought was right, and I got corrected, or I heard something from an insider or a very trusted person, and I reported on it in a video. Yeah. It didn't come true. If you were out here calling people liars because they get stuff that you don't agree with or that doesn't come to fruition, and you're calling that a lie, take a second and look into your little tiny Grinch heart and think, maybe I take this stuff a little too personal. Because who would lie on purpose about video games of all things? I called Yakuza Kiwami an indie game a long time ago. I'd never heard of the game. I'd heard of the game spoken of, but it was like I thought it was like something, oh, you have to try it. Nobody plays it. I thought Yakuza Kiwami was an indie game. It's a lot bigger than an indie game. I was wrong. But it's funny. No, Lucifer, I'm not saying you're a PlayStation guy. Gaz just talking about how there are certain, I don't know, Gaz and I get beat up for speaking the truth.
I don't get beat up. I beat everyone. No one beats me up. You must be joking, because there's no one of that caliber to come in to put us in our place. If we say something wrong, okay, kind of rebuke us. But what? Where? There's no quality mark on the PlayStation side that comes close to Xbox. Why? They don't spend time on the content. Oh, because we're busy playing games. How many times are you gonna play your one and done games? Just stupid. They don't come close, and it's annoying to me because Game On Daily isn't Xbox centric. No matter how much you think it is, we are more platform agnostic. Nintendo, PlayStation. I'm looking for a good PlayStation content creator.
You are
come in on board.
More of a Xbox guy on the show, but you're not the only one on the show. You have Asa, and then you have your guests. Like it is a gaming podcast.
Safe. Nintendo, massive Nintendo fan. Who's a good PlayStation content creator? There's hardly any. There's no one there. Riska says it's okay to be wrong. Riska is 90% always wrong. That's why he walks with a laneness. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost 5 o'clock in the morning. K-Dub, shout out to you with a $10 super chat. Glad to catch you boys live. Gaz bringing the sauce always until I get muzzled by the community or whatever for being or annoying or whatever. But enjoy these moments. Thank you so much, K-Dub, for that.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for. We've never done a podcast this long. I've never hosted one like this. So thank you so much. Chat, hit the like on the way out if you had a good time, if you learned something, if you got mad and you had to change your underwear, whatever it takes. But we really, honestly, appreciate every bit of it. And watching the chat, you guys make it amazing. Thanks for checking out the show. And I also didn't say we're on podcasts platforms, Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So if you want to check this show out, or you are listening in your earbuds, thank you so much for doing that. Gaz, have a good night. And as you always say, well, sometimes I say be nice, but as you always say,
I'm naked again.